What is up, everybody? Welcome to ToothAndTailTV, the show where you submit replays and we cast them. I am Delthius. What's going on, everybody? Sorry there was no show on Tuesday. As the viewers who have been here for a while know, every now and then I gotta travel for work, so that happened to be one of the times. Unfortunately, it ruined the show, but no big deal. We got a lot of really good submissions tonight. I'm actually really excited about it. A couple things I want to announce. Josh is putting together another tournament. I believe it's supposed to happen at the end of January. I don't know that exact date, so if anybody in the chat knows, man, feel free to plug it, man. I'm always really excited for Josh's tournaments. He normally comes up with some really cool stuff, and I think this time around, I'm not sure if it's still happening, but he was talking about doing like bans on units, so that would be really cool. So what else do I got? Oh yeah, again, man, I'm getting so many replays nowadays that it's really cool to see, so thank you everybody for submitting. If you are a constant submitter to the show, I did kind of cut those guys tonight to make room for people who haven't been on the show yet, or maybe have only had, one or two replays on. So guys like The Gentleman, Bonk, Premium Bow, stuff like that. Sorry, man, I couldn't fit you guys in this time. I wanted to make sure to get to everybody I possibly could. So, also, there are no 2v2 or free-for-all games tonight. We are just looking at 1v1s, and my thought with that was to hopefully fit in as many replays as we can. I've got 13 lined up instead of 12, so I want to see how, just doing 1v1 games helps me get through them. Definitely doesn't mean I'm not. I mean, typically I like to fit in at least one 2v2 and one free-for-all, but just trying something a little different this time around. And maybe if I get time at the end, I can get one of those regular submitters on, like a game from The Gentleman or something like that. But without any further ado, yeah, preview bow, yeah, that was a good one too, man. But it had me in it. I don't know. I don't know, man. Normally you submit me a 2v2. You didn't this time. Doing games with me in it are kind of weird, but that was a good one. Maybe if we have time at the end, I'll try to squeeze it in. But let's hop into this first game we've got here, Galactasun vs. Soj King. Alright, spawning in the 6 o'clock position, we've got Galactasun. And his opponent in the 11 o'clock, Soj King. Interesting, both these guys are kind of running similar builds here, right? Like, they both have the tier 3 of their choice, and they also are running turrets and machine guns each. And Yellow actually did not start with a queued farm. He doesn't have moles or anything like that, or I'm sorry, Red rather. So maybe a newer player, no big deal, just kind of scouting the map, seeing what's going on. And Galactasun's got a really good position to try to rush up to his Fox, with just a little bit of defense, maybe a couple turrets and a balloon on that high ground, and that's definitely a capability of this game. But Soj King going for some crazy stuff here, man. Rushing straight up to that snake off 4 farms. I guess that was why he did not queue an initial farm, so we'll have to see how that goes. Galactasun did scout that, I believe. Yes, he did, so he knows what's coming, and unfortunately for Soj King, just that one turret is going to be enough to stop the strategy. This is kind of an older strategy we saw a little more popular, I want to say around October, which is basically you rush up, a quick snake, get a couple pigeons to heal it, and then you can use micro to try to get a lot of damage done with the snake, because it only takes one tag from that snake to be able to kill a tier 1 unit. So that's kind of what Soj King was going for. I wasn't paying attention if he scouted the turret from his opponent, so he hasn't re-scouted yet, but Galactasun's got the perfect answer for this. So kind of feels bad for Soj King, man. He invested a lot into this strategy, and it's not going to be able to do anything for him. He's going to move out with it now, and he's just going to be heartbroken when he comes to Galactasun's nice and neat, perfectly guarded base with a turret here. That's got to be rough, man. I wonder what you do from this position if you're Galactasun. I mean, I would definitely at least sell off the pigeons. Yeah, he's got to come back. Again, he might be a newer player. I don't want to say that he is, and if he's not, but he might be unaware snakes do not damage turrets and is kind of figuring that out right now. We'll have to see. Yeah, see, he doesn't know. Or he gets in. He does. That's not enough damage to kill the pig, but he did get 3 stacks of poison on it, but yeah, loses a snake for it. And that's got to be it, man. He's got to give up on this concept. I would sell the pigeons, maybe keep the snakes, and get up to that 8 farms, and hell, maybe even take the campfire. But instead, Soj King decided to go for some even more crazy stuff. He's like, all right, man, the fast snake with pigeon didn't work. Let's try a fast badger with the pigeon. And it's not the worst call in the world. Yeah, I'd like to see those farms go down because Galactasun did build a ton of turrets. Now, the correct response here from Galactasun would be selling off a couple of those turrets now that he knows he's safe, but Galactasun, I believe, is winning the Tier 3 race at around the same time. They're pretty close, but yeah, around the same time he got his Fox out, and so this is going to gear up to be a pretty interesting early to mid-game. We're going to see some kind of Fox versus Badger action going on, and it might be difficult. I mean, if Soj King's got a lot of pigeons protecting his Badger, it's going to be hard for the Fox to target that Badger. The Fox is going to have to land several hits. I'm not exactly sure how many. Maybe someone in the chat can point that out. It's got to be at least 3 or... I want to say it like 3 or 4, right? I'm pretty confident 2 shots from a Fox won't kill a Badger, but... we'll have to see. It's Soj King making a little bit of defense here, and... Not the worst call in the world. I mean, I don't think he's re-scouted yet. No, he hasn't. So he's not aware that those turrets were sold by Galactasun, which was the right move. But, you know, I'd really like to see this defense from Soj King kind of up here more on this ledge right here, right? Because then those defensive structures basically protect 3 gristmills and a campfire. So, not the worst thing in the world, but... Badger is out now, and Fox has been out. Actually got out, looks like around the same time. So... Now Galactasun's got to start getting the damage done here, and where the dichotomy is going to happen in this mid-game. Beautiful, by the way. Balloons are a fantastic answer to the Fox, and this kind of position really hurts when you're the Fox player because, you know, the Fox is different than the Badger. The Badger's just going to add value all game long to that army composition of Soj King. You know, he is ready to rock and roll into a big fight with the Badger, whereas a Fox is going to help out in a big fight, but nowhere near as much as the Badger will. So the thing with the Fox, as most players are aware, is you really got to be racking up damage constantly with it. So, you know, Galactasun's intent was to be harassing the opponent's army right now. Man, he'd really love to get a pig or two, and just none of that's going to be able to happen because he's balloons out of his opponent. So Soj King should be in a pretty good spot, and the only thing he's got to do at this point is keep his economy going. He really needs to get a second base, and it looks like he's going to do just that, or maybe not. Let's see. What are you up to over here, Hopper? Gets the campfire, is holding off on base number 2 at the moment, which that might be his downfall, because Galactasun's economy is fantastic right now. And yeah, the army graph looked pretty good for Soj King, but you got to remember, the vast majority of that is actually in the balloons. 3 hits to kill an unhealed Badger, says Raucus. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I felt like it was around like 2 to 4, like more than 2. I was either 3 or 4. I wasn't confident on 3, but good little tidbit. Man, I really like Soj King's position here. The only thing that I'm worried about for him is how far behind his economy is, but balloons, man. Balloons just get harder and harder to deal with, you know, as these numbers progress, and it doesn't look like... Yeah, wait, sorry, I'm looking at this map. Can he sneak around? No. Yeah, he could, I guess. He could move his whole army this way, right, and then come through the back door, but it looks like Soj King's aware of that and throws just a couple balloons over there anyways, and, you know... Galactasun's got a better position here. He doesn't have that wall of balloons, but he has balloons with him, so he certainly can build those whenever he wants. But, you know, I mean, just look at this here. You know, Galactasun, the way this map is split, it's got access to 5 gristmills, where Soj King only has access to 3 gristmills and a couple campfires. So, Galactasun's more than willing to play this long game. He's not in any rush. I mean, look at this economy, man. 24 farms is so huge. And Galactasun is probably going to be aware... Yeah, he's not quite aware of this backdoor entrance yet, per se, but he knows something's up there. That'd be really cool to see him move his army over there and sneak in that way, but... I mean, look at this minimal army from Soj King, man. He's just got the Badger with 3 pigeons healing it, and other than that, he's just relying purely on the balloons, and... You know, Soj King's taking an economy at a reasonable pace for a long game, but... The problem here is that Galactasun is so... I mean, he's generating such a massive income that one big engagement. You know, Galactuson's army is just going to be so massive, but at the same time, he's going to have to fight under these balloons, so it's going to be nuts. That'd be crazy if Galactuson could get his own balloons up, like, near the balloons of Soch King, you know, because balloons can't fight target buildings, right? So they wouldn't be able to stop him from building balloons right there, and, you know, Soch King doesn't really have an army. I mean, he can't move out with that Badger, or else it's just going to get poked upon. So this is pretty crazy, man. I mean, my money's on Galactuson for sure. It's hard to bet against him when he's got 27 farms, right? Like, that's just absolutely insane. And, you know, Falcons are a decent answer to this. If Galactuson positions his chameleons to try to soak the vast majority of those balloon hits up front and allows the Falcons to get in on these balloons, that'd be great for him. But I feel like squirrels would do even better here, right? Because the balloon's going to one-shot the squirrel or the Falcon. So it might as well be a squirrel that it one-shots, right? And it's a lot cheaper. You can get a whole lot more of the squirrels. But, you know, 18 Falcons is hard to argue with. And on an economy of 32 farms, that's pretty insane. And just a little bit of a note for new players here. The mistake that Galactuson has made is you want to leave like 1 or 2 of these farms open. You know, 2 in this position would probably be preferable as what we call starvation farms, right? Because, you know, things mine out pretty quickly in Tooth and Tail, so having an extra farm to trigger right when you're in starvation will allow you to stay in the game for 5 more minutes, and we'll just have to see if it comes down to something like that. I mean, Soch King is being much more conservative with the pace that he's building an economy than Galactuson is, but that's probably not going to matter because Galactuson's army should be getting out of control here. I mean, he's working his way up to 30 Falcons, man. This is absolutely insane. This is that funny kind of Cold War position, as I coin it, that games can sometimes go to when neither player is aggressive, you know, and you see these insane army values because nobody's lost really any food at this point. I mean, Soch King lost, what, 1 snake? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was really the only scruffle in this game, so all this money that's being farmed, none of it had to go to recreating units, you know, off the same warren over and over again as multiple battles kind of come in and drain your unit supply down. So these guys are able to get up to insane armies here, especially Galactuson with this massive economy. I mean, he's going to be able to approach this balloon line, you know, with 16 chameleons up front to tank and 38 Falcons on the back line to do the damage. This is gonna be a treat here on Tooth and Tail TV to watch, man. I'm really excited for this engagement here. Hey, Miss Looker, thanks for the raid, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, this is what I wanted to see, man. Cool. Okay, it looks like Galactuson is aware at this point of this backdoor entrance, and he's gonna take it. Is what it looks like, anyways. And here we go. Come on. He's just getting everybody over there. Thinking, I mean, he doesn't really need to put down any more Warrens since he's got 8 Falcons on the back end that still need to get financed. But it looks like he's trying to find a spot to just throw down 1 or 2 more things, then get ready to rock and roll here. And Soch King, man, 21 balloons on the field with the Badger and a Pigeon, and this is just hilarious. And I'm thinking Soch might be a little bit of a new player, but that's all right, man. We accept all levels of replays here at TnTTV, so no big deal. Leading with the Fox, but not going to be able to get anything done with that. And, you know, this is where it gets really frustrating to be that turtley defensive player, because it's like, you know, okay, build all that stuff. Oh, wow, it looks like a balloon doesn't one-shot a Falcon, just gets him down to like 1 HP. But yeah, you know, most of the time you'll find some kind of way to get in behind that crazy defense of your opponent. But now it's going to be difficult to wiggle around this. He's going to take some hits on these Falcons for sure, but he's got plenty to spare. I mean, he doesn't even really need the Falcons to win this game at this point. Yeah, and Soch King's just going to tap out, so. Really cool game, man. Okay, yeah, let's hop into game number 2 here. We've got Gilkatan versus Kilgore Trout. Spawning in the 1 o'clock position, we've got Gilkatan. And his opponent in the 8 o'clock, Kilgore Trout. Alright, let's take a look at these decks. So it looks like Kilgore Trout is going for that Badger Pigeon style, right? It's not the best map in the world for him to try to rush something out like that, but it's not something you really have to rush out. You know, you can throw, I think the proper tier 3 timing, if you're not going for anything crazy, is kind of when you have like a second base established. You know, you've got a pretty healthy army already, maybe, you know, 6 or 7 tier 1 Warrens, maybe a couple tier 2 Warrens, you know, nice good economy, and it's like, okay, yeah, now let me just add that tier 3 in, you know. So I'm interested to see how Kilgore wants to play with this Badger here, rather. And meanwhile, his opponent, Gilkatan, kind of going for this, you know, heavy tier 2 style, which is pretty good. I mean, Gilkatan's deck, to be honest, is very powerful, especially for a mid-game. Where it starts to drop off is that late game. That's kind of the trade-off you give when you're not building a tier 3 into your army. I mean, I think all tier 3s right now are pretty good. I mean, we can sit here and talk about which one's the strongest, but all of them seem to perform pretty well at the current moment. So just having really any of your favorite tier 3 unit in your army composition is going to make your mid to late game army a little bit stronger, and it also opens up possibility to different builds that you can make within your deck. But Gilkatan's deck, to me, is saying, you know, I don't want to play a late game. I want to play a mid game. You know, I want to identify what you're doing. You know, are you going for something like ferrets or snakes? Well, I've got chameleons. Are you going to go for a lot of tier 1? I've got skunks. And then the falcons are just this great, like the falcon's the only I kind of coined it as a late game unit. You know, Gilkatan's still got the potential to get up a huge Falcon army that's backed up by a good front line, and that's still going to give them a pretty powerful late game army composition. So I'm imagining maybe that's what the Falcons are for, but Gilkatan opting for a very quick expansion here, and Kilgore hasn't scouted it just yet. So we'll have to see what Kilgore decides to do. He's floating a little bit of money, so it looks like he wants to put down a tier 2 or perhaps even his Badger. Let's see what he decides to do. Oh, there he goes. Okay, so he's making some ferrets. And, you know, this map is pretty favored towards Gilkatan, I gotta say. You know, it's not impossible for Kilgore, but in order for Kilgore to even get a second base here, yeah, he's gonna have to take this one. And he's going to have to control this zone right here, which is going to be difficult because it's right at the foot of Gilkatan's base, and the re-rally for Gilkatan is going to be very powerful here since that short travel distance, you know, to the front lines. But the silver lining for Kilgore this game is that if he is able to conquer kind of this zone of the map, little runaround on this campfire going on, by the way. Let's take a look real quick and see if he manages to get it. Looks like he will, but Gilkatan can counterattack. He's gonna get a free pigeon, which is always nice, but oh no, he's kind of got Kilgore's army split up as he's claiming this ground in the middle. And meanwhile, Kilgore is deciding to go for maybe a base race or at least some kind of backdoor attack. And Gilkatan has claimed this critical area that I was talking about earlier Kilgore really needed. And Kilgore knew it's going to be difficult to take a favorable engagement here, so he's just trying to get some counter damage done to his opponent. We'll have to see who's able to kind of race faster. I mean, Gilkatan's got the expansion. Yeah, okay, Kilgore did take the campfire after he took it, and he's also got another campfire over here, so he's in a good spot when it comes to a base race, perhaps. It's really going to depend how much of Kilgore's army gets wiped out here, you know, trying to clean everything up from his opponent. And Gilkatan probably isn't aware. Yeah, the campfire got taken by Kilgore, but he could probably guess. And Kilgore is wasting a little bit of time on the Warrens here. I'd really like to see him target down this Gristmill, and there you go. But very smartly, Gilkatan did claim a Gristmill from his opponent just to stay alive in this game. And now we're in a really interesting spot. Now, Gilkatan still does have some money here. So he can do things like build up some more Warrens or try to get an economy. Meanwhile, Kilgore is kind of stuck with what he's got. You know, he could take a base, which he certainly should. But he's got a superior army right now. If he's able to poke in and kind of figure that out, I mean, as long as those skunks don't really annihilate, you know, if Kilgore utilizes his one ferret very well, he could get a lot of poking damage done before this fight begins, but instead he's just going to run right in here. We'll have to see if the skunk gas is enough to deal with these squirrels. Oh man, it looks like it is going to be. And Gilkatan's going to win that fight. Yeah, if I was Kilgore there, man, I would have tried to dance a little bit more before that direct engagement started and try to rack up free value with that ferret. And I really don't see how Kilgore can stay alive anymore, to be perfectly honest. Let me do a little ×2 here. These two squirrels are going to take a little while to take this gristmill out. Alright, Kilgore's barely saving up 60 food. He can do something like take this campfire. Sure enough, he does. Gilkatan's just looking for the last couple structures of his opponent here to finish him off. He's going to eventually find him. And now he's going to have to play whack-a-mole against Kilgore. But it should eventually work for him. Let's speed this up a little bit. Yeah, it takes that. I always do that too if I'm in a base race situation. Not even a base race, just kind of where your opponent's being annoying, you know, staying in the game, constantly taking over structures to stay alive. I always just claim, like, if I have a good economy still, I'll just claim everything on the map, right? So he can't just keep running around and I gotta play whack-a-mole. But Gilkatan manages to take it, and it's crazy. You know, just that it looked like the game was kind of going to go to an interesting mid-game position, but just that decision, man, to go over there and take out that campfire, he got really punished by Gilkatan when he stepped out of position. And that water certainly didn't help Kilgore, so really cool game. How's it going, everybody? Thanks for tuning in, man. If you're just joining me, I apologize. There wasn't a show on Tuesday. Every now and then I gotta travel for work and can't really stream from hotels very well, so not a whole lot I could do about it, but I apologize nonetheless, man. And again, thanks everybody for so many submissions, man. It's just constant. My inbox is constantly filled and it makes me really happy, so let's head it into some Calyx Jumi versus Sandman. And Sandman is kind of new to the scene, I believe, but Calyx Jumi's a name I remember. I haven't seen him around lately, and it's cool to see him kind of back. You know, maybe he has been here and I just haven't noticed, you know, but cool to see a replay with him nonetheless. I remember Calyx Jumi from the early days in like September, right after launch. So let's hop into game number 3 here. Oh, Calyx Jumi's in the chat like, what? Yeah, my bad, man. I guess he did take a break. I just haven't seen you in any tournaments or anything lately. But nonetheless, we've got Calyx Jumi in the 3 o'clock, and we've got Sandman in the 8 o'clock. Maybe I'm wrong. I apologize. I like Calyx Jumi's deck here, though. Trying out the barbed wire. I mean, there's a lot of... it's a little bit meta right now to go for tier 3 rushes. The most common, you know, being either a fox, if you enjoy that playstyle, or the badger plus pigeon combo. So, not necessarily what Calyx Jumi is going to go for here, but I believe the barbed wire would help you out in that kind of situation if you're trying to turtle up on one base and get out a fast fox, so... Calyx is like, oh no! Yeah, it must be awkward if you're watching and you see your name and you're like, I didn't submit anything. Uh-oh. You know, it's probably going to be a loss for me. Most people do submit wins, but every now and then we get guys who submit losses, which is really cool to see too. And, you know, Sandman here, playing it safe. Calyx Jumi is going to win this quote-unquote early game. The 8 farm. 8 farm is the best move you can make financially if you don't get punished for it, right? So Calyx took a little bit of a gamble. Went for the 8 farm, and meanwhile Sandman, I believe, went for a safe 6 farm Warren, which is a little more greedy than the 5 farm Warren, but it's a safe build nonetheless, you know, designed to help you out against early aggression. You know, something like a 5 farm double Warren, a 6 farm should be able to answer pretty easily, and, you know, Sandman putting his Warren up here on the high ground, I like to see that. You know, it can kind of backfire if you get rushed really, really early and you don't have the pig line to protect you, but these guys, man, kind of... by pure coincidence, take a very early expansion. You know, they both put down a 1 minute 40-second expansion, you know, almost at the exact same time here. So, looks like both these players want to take it into the mid-game. And I like this use of just a little bit of barbed wire, man. It's really tempting to build, like, this barbed wire wall across, you know, but most of the time, man, you can just, yeah, just put a piece here or a piece there, and that can really do the job for you, man. The real thing I try to hark on with defensive structures, man, is less is more. You know, you don't need 5 turrets. You know, you need one really well-positioned and well-guarded turret, and invest the rest of that money into your army. So both these players not being super greedy on their second base, which I like a lot. You know, taking 2 farms is reasonable. Even up to 4 is fine, but it gets dicey, you know, when you see players take an expansion and just go straight up to 8 farms on it. You know, it's really easy to punish that because the amount of money you're investing into economy, if your opponent invested that into army, they're going to be in a good spot. But Sandman is the first one to take a risk with this bold play here and go for a relatively fast tier 3. Not a super fast tier 3, not a rushed out tier 3 or anything, but he's cutting a lot of corners here. He's taking a lot of farms on the second base, which is a risk already. And then he's taking a fast tier 3, which is another risk. So it's going to play, risk and reward ratio, right? I mean, if he doesn't get punished for it, it's going to be fantastic for him. But Calyx Jumi might be able to get something done with this attack. He actually doesn't really have that many more squirrels than his opponent. But Sandman was out of position. Calyx manages to get a free Warren and backs out, without taking a direct engagement, which is perfectly fine. And this zone Calyx is setting up is pretty good. He's going to be able to defend 3 bases plus a campfire here with, 3 turrets and a couple pieces of barbed wire, so not so bad. But this owl, man, this is the real story here. One owl is good, but it's going to get more scary when he gets up to 2 or 3. And, now that I'm looking at this map a little more closely, it's going to be hard for Sandman to ever really get out a third base, which is unfortunate if he's going, hoping to go for a strategy like multiple owls, right? It's just going to be hard to finance that on a 2-base economy. Not impossible, but you got to cut a lot of corners to do so. And Calyx is just going for a little bit of a bread and butter type build. Lots of tier 1, getting a strong economy, and it's not a bad way to play. Yeah, I was gonna say I'd like to see a little more tech out of his army. Sure enough, he throws down a ferret. I love just seeing like 6 lizards, man. Like 6 to 9 lizards is so much fun to play with. Just run around and the 6 lizards come around here, just bam, snipe a building, snipe a pig. And it's not the biggest loss in the world if you do get punished for it, because it's only 6 lizards, Now Calyx finally feels comfortable enough to get out his own tier 3, but he's going to be a little upset when he notices that this owl is already out for his opponent here. And he's going to have to retreat for now and kind of figure out how he wants to deal with that. The fox is a good answer if you are able to get up and target fire that owl, but he doesn't have falcons, which I prefer a lot when I'm fighting against owls, It's pretty easy to target an enemy owl with your falcons. Falcons obviously don't take damage from the mice. And Calyx Jumi, kind of knowing that his army might not stand a proper engagement here, decides to go for a base race situation. And Sandman's coming in here and starting to get some work done, but so is Calyx Jumi. 1 base is already down for his opponent. He's working on getting that 2nd base down, but Sandman is not messing around. He's got a 3rd base, prepared for the space race situation with plenty of farms on top of it as well. And he's got a formidable army here. Damn, this game is getting crazy, man. Calyx Jumi does do some critical damage to Sandman, but he decides to turn around and defend. I don't think he's probably not aware. Yeah, he doesn't know where the additional bases are for his opponent, and takes a little bit of a bad engage here, and Sandman, deals a lot of damage to Calyx Jumi's army. But Calyx is just kind of trying to hold on until this fox gets out, man. He's hoping the fox is going to be the tool he can use to kind of claw his way back into this game. And Sandman understands the fact that he's kind of got the dominant army at the moment. Decides to clean up a little bit. And I love that play out of Calyx Jumi, by the way, just to go ahead and sell that Warren off. Sandman can come in there and snipe it anytime he wants. Might as well go ahead and get rid of it, get your money back. And now the fox is out. And if Calyx Jumi can kind of claim this area, he could be in a good spot. He's got a lot of gristmills to his name with these defenses here. But he needs to get some harassment done with the fox. Currently, his commander is scouting the map. He did finally identify the last remaining base out of his opponent here. And the fox is getting to work. And every little bit of food this thing is able to get is going to be a big deal here. He needs to be careful not to drag the rest of his army out of that defensive line he's got. Just micro this fox individually and snipe as many things as he possibly can to try to inch his way back into this game. Ooh, he's got to be careful. He's getting a little far out with his fox. It's the worst feeling in the world when your fox dies, man. Trust me, I play with the fox a lot, and yeah, I'll lose it pretty often too, man, and it definitely hurts. So you got to really babysit that unit to maintain your sanity, for one, because it feels so bad when it dies, and for 2, to get the maximum value out of it. So Sandman did recover successfully. He's got a nice 8-base economy. We're back to like an 8-base versus 8-base situation, and I like this play out of Calyx. He's trying to get a large bread and butter frontline army out to protect his fox, to protect his ferrets, to start contesting a little bit. And turrets are not the worst answer in the world to owls, to be honest, man. Once you get enough turrets, they'll be able to shred down those mice very quickly. And you know, yeah, they'll take a little bit of damage, but I mean, even look at that. You know, just 3 turrets. I mean, yeah, they got hurt. Yeah, they'll eventually die, but it's buying Kalexumi time, which is what he needs. You know, he's not directly losing food with that mice harassment, and he's feeling more and more confident to step out on this map and start contesting the army of his opponent. But all these flying units here, I guess he's only got a couple ferrets that can't hit flying, but these falcons do so much damage, and Sandman did a really good job of tanking with his owl and pulling it back, and the fox goes down for Kalexumi, which is really unfortunate because that fox was the lifeline of his army, man. You know, if he was able to get the owl, you know, it would have been less painful, but now Sandman's got that tier 3 and Calyx doesn't. And very smartly, Calyx sells off that tier 3 Warren, knowing, you know, he's not going to be able to get Fox back this game, or certainly not at least anytime soon, so trying to get something to his name and moving out and pushing. But I believe Sandman's army here might be good enough. I mean, those falcons are doing so much damage. You know, 6 falcons is quite a bit. He's got a couple pigeons to heal him. Those mice are doing pretty well on the front line tanking. And it's going to be rough for Calyx. If I'm Calyx here, the best move you could probably make is try to just get up to this 3 farm economy. You know, and try to get back into the game that way. But he doesn't have falcons. He doesn't have owls. So he doesn't really want to take the game very much longer, you know, because he realizes, you know, as Sandman stays alive here, getting up to 2-3 owls is going to be painful, and he probably not going to be able to deal with that. So the goal, I think what Kalexumi is kind of going through right now is he can't let Sandman, who's got, you know, pieces in his deck that are better in the late game, like the owl and the falcon, you know, make this army that he wants. He's got to kind of try to keep coming out here and try to bust them before we get too much further in the game, and it doesn't work out for him, and Sandman takes it. Great game. Yeah, sorry, Calyx, man. I don't know. I just haven't seen you lately. My bad. Calyx is active still, but these are a couple names that I haven't seen in a little while. Maybe this is better here. CJ Man Jansen and Classic Metal. They were really active back a few months ago, so really cool to see some replays coming in from these guys, and seeing that they're still in the scene. So a little drink of water here. All right. Okay. So let's hop into game number 4 here. CJ Man Jansen versus Classic Metal. Spawning in the 12 o'clock position, we've got CJ Man Jansen and his opponent in the 6, Classic Metal. Interesting builds coming out of these guys. You know, Classic has really been known to really like his big, bulky, squirrel-heavy armies. So no surprise seeing squirrels picked up from Classic Metal on that regard, but he does have the moles in his deck, and I think that's probably the flexibility. I mean, Classic Metal's deck here is kind of signifying to me that he wants to do that early to mid-game style play, right? Like, he's got Toads, which are really good at kind of breaking your opponent's back. You know, Toads aren't necessarily always the most cost-effective unit in the world, but if it's like, you know, hey man, I want to go in here with this final push to end the game, you don't need to be cost-effective, right? You just need to get some work done, and Toads are really good at doing that. So that's kind of what Classic Metal's deck signifies to me. It seems to be like this timing attack, centric style. You know, maybe he's going to build up a nice mid-game army, couple skunks, couple snakes, a lot of squirrels to back it up, and then add in those toads and moles when he's ready to pull the trigger. And meanwhile, CJ Man Jansen going for a little bit of that smorgasbord at tier 2, plus an owl in case we get to the late game. But so far so good, nothing crazy out of these guys. You know, both players getting up to 8 farm economies pretty quickly. Classic Metal getting the 2 tier 1 Warren. Meanwhile, CJ Man Jansen gets just 1 plus a campfire, which to be honest, I actually favor Man Jansen's position here, because that campfire, you know, by the time, if Classic Metal ever discovers it, by the time he's ready to go over there and attack it, you know, CJ is probably going to have a comparable amount of units, plus he's got turrets, and it's not too far away from his main base, so I feel like as long as Man Jansen is vigilant here, he'll be able to get away with that campfire. But it always feels really bad when your opponent has such an early campfire and you're not even aware of it, right? Like, it's one thing to see it and say, okay, I can't really punish that right now, but it's another thing completely when you're not aware of that extra economy your opponent's getting, and you don't calculate that into your moves, right? Like, if I'm in Classic Metal's position and I see my opponent goes for a fast campfire, I might just take a gristmill with just a couple farms, you know, to even it out a little bit. Obviously, the campfire is a little better in that situation, but, you know, Classic Metal's looking to take this game into the mid-game anyways, and takes a pretty quick gristmill, so going up to 2 base economies, so as long as Classic Metal, you know, stays just a little bit ahead on populating his farms, it should even out the advantage from the campfire. So interesting, man. Both players going for some skunks here. You know, now that I look at it, I didn't notice that both players actually went for skunk snake, which is kind of cool. You know, snakes are really good. Kind of the poor man's Kasha, right? You know, like an assassin that's on the tier 2 level. Good if you can target down your opponent's skunks with the snake, for example. It'll put you in a good spot. And the skunk is obviously just a great unit against heavy tier 1, especially squirrels. So it's going to be cool to see this mid-game. And man Jansen is going hard on this second base. Classic Metal's following suit, though, so it shouldn't be the biggest deal in the world. Hey, what's up, Classic Metal? Yeah, good to see you back, man. Another metalhead here. I dig it. So yeah, this man Jansen's in a good spot. You know I just said last game, like, I don't like it when players do this, but the fact that Classic Metal is also putting a lot into his second base kind of evens it out a little bit, and Metal's ready for an engagement here. He's got some snakes, and if you get some good stacks on those tier 2, fantastic micro coming out of Classic Metal. He did actually put stacks on 4 different tier 2 units from his opponent, and he takes the engagement, and that was actually very good micro. For Classic Metal here. Can he keep that snake alive? Oh, barely. Beautiful, man. Just backs out. Yeah, I love that. I love that attack out of Classic Metal. Very well done. Man Jansen's going up for this really heavy Falcon style, which can be scary if he gets that front line for it, man. And you know, he's got all the tools you really need for that really dangerous, scary late game army, man. A fleet of Falcons with a few owls. Man, that is just like the perfect army composition, isn't it? Because the mice are nice tanks on the front line and do pretty good damage too, and give your Falcons breathing room to do the real DPS from the back. So that's really that key late game army comp. I actually like Print F's late game army comp he's been doing lately too, where he's going like wolf, fox, and ferret. Like seeing ferrets buffed up from wolves, man, is so funny. But looks like man Jansen feels confident here, wants to start kind of poking in on his opponent, but Classic Metal is gonna bunker down a little bit with a couple turrets here, and again, man, this turret positioning is what I really like to see. Oh man, look at that perfect high ground for that turret, dude. That is amazing. But yeah, just 2 turrets defends 3 gristmills very nicely, and I actually like from man Jansen not building turrets, because you know, when your opponent builds, I mean, he should eventually, I would say, build a couple, you know, up here to have like a spot to retreat to. But you know, if your opponent's like, hey, I'm going to build a lot of defense and go for a macro game, you can respond by saying, cool, I'm going to go for a macro game too without building defense, and get ahead of you. But yeah, I think at this point, these aren't really turtley turrets anymore. This is kind of like splitting the map turrets here, right? Like, he's drawing a line, he's got a nice little spot he can kind of poke in, and if he realizes, like, crap, this isn't a good engagement for me, I can pull back to these turrets on the high ground, no big deal. Owl number 1's out, and Owl number 2 is on the way. And man Jansen is just putting together this late game bread and butter army, man, that is just so strong. I think this army comp out of man Jansen is going to be very powerful here, and you know, overall, this map is kind of split. I mean, man Jansen has a better position for 2 reasons. For one, he gets the campfire, which, I mean, Classic Metal could have taken that campfire. It's not really like that campfire was given to him. But the fact that man Jansen's up here on the high ground actually makes a really big difference. So Classic Metal is going to always have to attack up, and he doesn't have any flying units to give him vision. Decides now's the time to go in, and he commits with an all-in style move on top of Sage Man Jansen's army. trade pretty evenly, but man, Jansen comes out on top, man. And I want to point out those 2 turrets during the engagement just got so much damage done, man. I mean, 1 turret fell, but geez, the DPS output was absolutely insane. And man, Jansen's actually going up to owl number 3 here. Not sure how he can afford it. You know, maybe sell off a squirrel warren or 2 is probably what I would do. You really don't want units sitting around in the red. I'd like to see him sell off one of those owl warrens or even just a squirrel warren. If you sell it off and it's got 3, built squirrels, that's 180 food right there you could grab. But I feel like, man, Jansen's priority here has got to be this owl production, because once he gets those 3 owls out, it's going to be very difficult for Classic Metal to deal with. Let's see if he can figure out a strategy. Classic Metal just kind of poking in, trying to figure out the army composition of his opponent. But again, man, Falcons and Owls are just such strong late-game units. And man, Jansen survived during this mid-game. And, Classic Metal's deck is really designed for a very strong, late early game to mid-game situation. And Man Jansen, he didn't roll over Man Jansen. Metal really needed that first attack to give him momentum, which it kind of didn't. He came out on top with that great snake micro, but he didn't do crippling damage to Man Jansen. So it's really difficult and frustrating when you're against an opponent who has an army like this, because it's like it's on you to get something done, right? Like Man Jansen could just kind of sit back and chill, and his army's just going to get stronger and stronger for the late game. And Classic Metal realizes this, so he gives it one last hurrah to try to come in here and break this out of his opponent, but that late game composition of Man Jansen was too much, and Man Jansen takes the game. Okay, make a pretty good time. Alright. I just want to keep moving, man. Let's BS in between, right? Let's keep this show going. So let's hop into game number 5 here. We've got Base God versus Weltrick. Okay. Spawning in the 12 o'clock position, we've got Weltrick. And his opponent, in about the 6, Base God. Man, and Base God's really got that smorgasbord tier 2 setup, right? Like, one tier 1, just every tier 2 tool in the book, basically. I mean, what is he leaving out here? Why am I brain farting looking at this? He's got Falcon. Shouldn't there be? There's one more. Oh man, I'm embarrassing myself. Snakes, yeah, he doesn't have snakes. I mean, it was right there in front of me. Weltrick has snakes, right? But he's got a good comp here. I'd imagine, it allows you to do a lot of different things. Base God could rush up. I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but I feel like if you're going to get like a quick tier 2 and go for like a quick tier 2, late early game push, maybe like 12 squirrels plus your tier 2, the Chameleon's probably the best bang for your buck there with how much damage it does and the tanking potential. So Chameleons can be used to launch an aggressive attack. He's got the Skunks, and he kind of has a tech choice, just in case the opponent gets a lot of tier 1. Ferrets if he's got to poke some stuff down. Falcons for that late game army composition. But really the story here is Weltrick's deck, man. He is going for some crazy stuff, man. Really hoping to get a kind of turtled up. And this isn't the worst position for him, to be perfectly honest. This is actually fantastic for what Weltrick is trying to accomplish here. He's got a nice spot. Imagine if you put a Drumfire like right there on that little corner that's protruding out in the middle. Some balloons and turrets around it. And then he'd be able to secure all 3 of these bases very easily and get up to a tier 3 comfortably. And to be perfectly honest, he probably doesn't even need the Drumfire. Drumfire is good, but it's really expensive, so it's hard to kind of warrant that kind of investment in the early game, I'd like to instead see Weltrick. I think he could honestly get away with like a minimalistic approach. Just a couple balloons and a couple turrets is probably all he needs to secure all 3 of these bases up here, which would give him a fantastic economy to build up those 2 or 3 owls that you need to really get that strong late game army. But Base God gets the campfire, and he's thinking about poking out with his units, or at least just positioning them on the high ground. I mean, really, if this game goes on forever, quote unquote, the map goes to Base God, right? I mean, this is, it's going to be really easy for Weltrick to split and get these 3 bases, but I feel like it's going to be difficult for Weltrick to move any further out than that. So he's going to have a nice little safe opening here, you know, with a couple natural expansions that'll be easy to defend minimalistically. But if the game goes too long, you know, in the long run, Base God is going to have access to more gristmills overall. So kind of interesting economic interaction here, right? And Weltrek's not messing around, man. He went for a fast expansion and 4 farms, and that's enough, man. He's got to be careful. You don't want to take more than that, especially because Base God hasn't taken a second base yet. You really don't want to oversaturate on that natural expansion and get ran over because you don't have an army. But yeah, this defensive, yeah, I mean, the Drumfire is a little bit of overkill, but it's fine. I mean, I feel like Base God is kind of scared enough of this anyways with just those couple defensive structures. I just don't want to see him go overboard, man. Don't build too many defenses here. He needs to start that owl production, or at least get a little bit more of an army out at the very least, you know. So he's got these 5 structures here. I mean, that's a lot of money built up into this. It's going to be hard for Base God to break it, but not really with these ferrets. You know, it's difficult for ferrets to go toe-to-toe with Drumfire cannons, but the cannon's not up yet. So if those ferrets can poke it down before it gets up, yeah, he kind of missed his window there to take out that Drumfire cannon scot-free, and that balloon is giving the Drumfire cannon extra range. Now, the Drumfire cannon does have the same range as a ferret, but it's got small vision. I think the ferret's the same way, so you kind of need that spotting unit, but the balloon pairs very well because the balloon's going to give you high ground vision, and it also has very, very large vision range, right? So that Drumfire cannon has got the vision it needs to defend Weltrek very nicely, and now Weltrek really needs to get this economy going. You know, at this point, I wouldn't even mind him selling off a couple things to just go basically up to, like, you know, 20 farms, man, and get a very, very strong economy going, and just muscling out these owls. That's really what he needs to do here. But Base God's taking it slow. You know, I like this approach. He's not just throwing his army into these defenses to no avail, right? I mean, he did some harassment when he could. He maybe lost a ferret or two, you know, no big deal. And he's kind of chilling back, getting his own economy going. And, you know, like I said earlier, man, eventually Base God will have 2 gristmills worth of money and a campfire on his opponent here. So it's kind of an interesting situation, to be honest, because it's like, Weltrek's got the owls if it goes to the late game, but Base God's going to have the numbers. And Base God does have falcons too, which you know, scale into the late game very effectively. Base God gonna try to go for it here. He gets the Drumfire cannon. That's a really big deal. That might be all he needs to just back out for now, but you gotta know something's up, man. You know, when you're in a position like this and your opponent's turtling this hard, I mean, you gotta know that they're getting tier 3 up. Probably either Badger or Owl. If it was gonna be Fox, it would have happened already. Now the owl is out, but I'm not so sure if Base God has actually seen it yet. Now, yeah, he definitely does if he's paying attention, because that mouse got trailed over. And yeah, now I'd like to see Base God go for some falcons here. He sells off the ferret immediately. He might be trying to come in here for a timing attack, and this is a good idea, man. He's got a good army. You know, Weltrek's been investing a lot into these owls, a lot into economy, and if he can break them right here, right now, he'll be able to take the game. So gotta be careful. These squirrels are getting distracted by Warrens and not targeting units effectively. And that's going to give Weltrek a chance to win this engagement. But that owl's starting to take a lot of damage here. Those squirrels are still alive. You know, Base God's really got a target fire. You know, as these squirrels like to just kind of target whatever's closest to them. He manages to get 1 owl down. If he can get that second owl, that's probably going to be all she wrote for Weltrek here. More squirrels coming in for Base God. 2 HP left on this owl, man. Is he going to be able to get it? Yeah, either way, the damage is done. Weltrek's got to tap out, and well played by Base God, man. You know, kind of showcasing how you can get in there against the turtling opponent, you know, at the right time with the right army and knock him out. So that was really cool to see. Oh, whoops. All right, what's next? While I get my drink of water, let me show you guys the whole lineup here tonight. Again, if you're a regular submitter, man, I apologize. I did kind of leave out the guys that we see on a regular basis. You know, the Gentlemen's, the Premium Bow, the Bonks. You know, I really appreciate you regular submitters. You guys are awesome. I'm not going to do this to you every week, but I did get a pretty big variety this time around of new submitters or guys who'd only submitted like once or twice before, so wanted to give them a little more spotlight here tonight. And on Tuesday, I'll definitely get the regular routine submitters back into the show. I definitely appreciate their support, man. I can't remember the last time I did a replay show without submissions from guys like Bonk and Gentleman and Premium Bow. So thanks a lot, guys. I apologize you're not on the show tonight, but I will definitely get you in on Tuesday. So let's hop into game number 6, Shearer vs. Drinkmore. Alright, spawning in the 5 o'clock, we've got Drinkmore. And his opponent in the 12 o'clock, Shearer. Interesting, man. Both these guys going for the Wolf. And, Wolf hasn't been, like, super popular, but it's still good, man. I mean, we see guys like Chip and PrintF using the Wolf very effectively. And it's a good late game unit, man. Like, buffed up Falcons especially. Like, my god, dude. The DPS that those things put out when they're buffed up is absolutely insane. And the Wolf is actually not a terrible response to a Fox either, which is kind of popular in the meta right now. Because it, speeds up units. So you speed up your Lizards or your Squirrels, they're able to get up on the Fox more effectively. But here we go, man. Sheer going for this Mole Rush, and I think his commander positioning gave it away a little bit for Drinkmore. You gotta be careful, man. I'm no mole rushing expert, but I think he would have been better off just leaving his commander on the high ground, because Drinkmore was just going out to scout, right? He would have been none the wiser. But Sheer's gonna come in here. He's definitely gonna get one pig. He loses a mole for it, though. He really can't afford to lose any more moles. Loses another. He's got to back out, man. He might be just practicing mole rushing, maybe not. And you got to start somewhere, I mean, that mole rush was not good for Sheer. He did get one pig, maybe a lizard, but he lost all 3 of his moles, so that's going to put Drinkmore in a fantastic position here. And again, man, I really, my big criticism on that mole rush, well, for one, I'm not sure if you kind of need 2 moles at the very least to really engage on that pig line. And then also, man, if he would have been a little more sneaky with his commander, Drinkmore just wouldn't have went off to scout, and he wouldn't have, started those warrens. He might have had a better chance, and he would have also, by the time those moles came in, Drinkmore's commander would have been across the map, right? So Sheer would have had a little bit of a chance where Drinkmore wasn't there to respond, to get a lot of damage done. So that'd be my 2 cents on that. I'm definitely no mole man. You'd have to ask someone like DJ Soak or the Gentleman, I think, has been doing some mole action lately. I know he's been doing a lot of lizard stuff. They would know better than I, but I like this out of Drinkmore. He understands he's got momentum here, and he wants to push it. And it's a great idea. He's got lizards, which are great at this. He's got to be careful. He needs to make sure he takes this effectively, but he's losing his window, man. 9 lizards versus 3 squirrels. I'd take that fight any day of the week. He's just trying to be a little careful. He's going to come in here again, targeting down, this structures out of his opponent, unfortunately, and Sheer holds that, man, and that's going to put Sheer back into this game in a fantastic position. That's really going to make up for that failed mole rush earlier. Now his economy's, he's definitely ahead of Drinkmore here, I feel like, right? I mean, he's got 8 farms, and he's got a comparable amount of Tier 1 units, but he's also got those toads, man, and toads are a lizard's worst nightmare, so he's got to be careful here. Drinkmore's really got to get that read. That's why he's taken the squirrels as well, if you are a new player. And it doesn't look like Drinkmore saw the toads yet, man, or if he did, he's just not scared, but you got to get that read off your opponent and realize, okay, they've got toads, that means I've got to tech switch out of lizards. And sure enough, he doesn't, and these toads are going to get some fantastic engagements and just dominate Drinkmore's army here in this fight. It looked like Drinkmore was really trying to get that Tier 2 Warren target fire down, and he almost managed to, but traded a lot of lizards, man, for free again, and Sheer's just got to feel like he's in such a comfortable position here, and he's starting to inch his way out onto the map. He's getting his second base, which he really needs to keep up with this extra economy Drinkmore has, and oh no, it looks like Drinkmore never replaced that farm that got destroyed in the first place, and Sheer managing to take that campfire, that's just going to hurt Drinkmore's economy even more. And man, if I'm Sheer, I'm just chilling now, right? Like, get a couple bases up on that gristmill. Don't go crazy on it or anything. Wait for my Falcons and push out and start poking. You know, Drinkmore's got a nice defendable position on this high ground here. This is actually a nice little starting area. We've been seeing this a lot tonight. You know, just a couple turrets will be able to secure these 3 gristmills for Drinkmore very effectively. Now, Drinkmore should be aware of the expansion of his opponent. But Sheer is not yet aware of his enemy's expansion. Oh, I love it, man. I love this really aggressive defense, man. And that Warren placement's great, too, for a couple reasons. For one, it's going to tank damage in a fight. And for two, it's going to allow those units to reinforce to the front line more quickly. This is what I like to see. And look at that, man. The balloon going down just before the territory changes as the expansion gets up for his opponent. So Drinkmore is in a rough spot here. I mean, lucky enough for him, he's got these nice 3 bases, so this contain isn't going to destroy his economy anytime soon. But this is always a rough position, man, especially, yeah, if Sheer just gets another balloon, and even placing a balloon on that high ground would be enough to at least deny that corner pig, I believe. And certainly, it would give these Falcons vision to be comfortable to come in here and poke and prod and deal damage to those pigs anyways, so you know, Sheer's position in this game is just looking fantastic so far. Alright, not a lot going on here. Let's do a little ×2 action. Yeah, just kind of get their second bases up. The real story is going to be if anyone really commits to tier 2 or who decides to throw down that wolf first. I don't really anticipate either player running into the defenses of their opponent anytime soon, so these guys are just kind of building up right now. Not a whole lot to say at this point, so we're just going to run a little ×2 action in the meantime and see how this game's going to unfold. Third base economy is getting going for Sheer, though, and you know, normally people say like nice Drinkmore is trying to do a little bit of a lizard run around, but gets punished by Sheer. And you know, yeah, Sheer probably could have got a couple of those farms up first, but you know, actually, I don't mind this position to take these riskier farms first, because go ahead and get those mining, right? Like if this game ends up getting scrappy here in a few minutes, you've got this easier to defend base that's got 4 farms on it, rather than this base that's kind of out in the middle of the map, right? And let me see. Yeah, it's going to split. It should split for Sheer. It's really going to come down to who can get this base, you know. Going to be a little difficult for either player to really get it. You know, Drinkmore's got to run all the way around to get to that, and Sheer can take it a little easier, but he's going to be in threat of harassment from his opponent from that high ground that he's not really going to be able to answer. So getting into a little bit of a standstill with Sheer being in the superior position. You know, he's got so much defense on the board, and he's got a comparable army as well. And yeah, that balloon is just in range to snipe that pig, that corner pig. So really helping pay for itself right there. Okay, so the wolf did go down for Drinkmore. So he's going to be the first player to get that wolf into the army. Now these balloons, you know, there's quite a few balloons, but they're spread out, which is okay, you know, but what it means is that this really big contestable front line position here is not going to be as strong as if all 5 balloons were right there, per se. So with a wolf buffing up the army, Drinkmore might have an opportunity to come in here and try to, you know, break this defense of his opponents, you know, 1 or 2 balloons at a time. We'll have to see. Yeah, Sheer taking this rough base. Oh man, if he gets this balloon up, that would be so huge. But yeah, Drinkmore's not going to let it happen, and really wouldn't have been that big of a deal, less than it looked like, because it would have been really easy for Drinkmore to clean those up regardless, unless Sheer really committed to trying to defend him, I suppose. And Sheer decides now's the time to get out wolves, and not just 1 wolf, but 2 coming up here for Sheer. So another one of these kind of Cold War positions, you know, both these players kind of just building up these big army compositions. Getting ready for a huge late game crash. We're getting into the 11-minute mark of this game here, so just really going to be who can find that angle to get in and attack their opponent. I mean, this is really difficult, man. I know it just kind of seems like these guys are just sitting around, but you know, the big engagement is going to decide the game. So both players really got to kind of scout their opponent's army, scout the position, try to come in at the best angle. I mean, it's going to be this one big, battle that's going to be everything this game, instead of a series of multiple skirmishes. And that's kind of what the balloon does, to be perfectly honest. Like, the balloon can really drag games out, as bad as it is to say it like that. But a lot of balloons are hard to attack into, man. So people can kind of get away with setting up a good balloon line and just chilling. The pressure's really on Drinkmore here to attack into this. And yeah, turrets are a thing too, but turrets have that easy answer of the ferret dealing with it, where the balloon doesn't. There's no unit that's just going to be able to kill a balloon for free. The best thing you can do against balloons is if Drinkmore kind of ran over here, 6 lizards get up on that one balloon by itself, that would take it out in no time. Undefended balloons, balloons are very squishy, so if they're not defended, they go down very, very quickly. Yeah, and Drinkmore pulling his opponent out of position, deciding now's the time to go in, but this wolf, I'm worried about it. It might go down, and there it goes. So now Shear's got 2 wolves against his opponent's 1. And the firepower plus the balloons is going to be way too much for Drinkmore to handle here. I mean, Shear's really ahead in every way. He's got the better positioning with these balloons. He's got 2 wolves. He's got a great army. He's got a huge economy. So it's going to be difficult for Drinkmore to make this happen here. Drinkmore has some defense of his own, but there's no reason Shear ever really needs to attack into Drinkmore. It's kind of on Drinkmore to attack into his opponent, because Shear split the map better for him than Drinkmore did. And look at this balloon, man. These other balloons are going to be able to harass those pigs. It's going to be so mean, but here we go. I heard you like falcons, bro. Well, here we got 25 of them going off, but Drinkmore backing out of it, gonna allow his opponent to get a lot of free damage on it. Look at these value balloons, dude. And there's 4 of them now. So it's gonna be very hard for Drinkmore to attack into that. And 14 minutes into this game, Drinkmore is gonna give it one more try, but there is just too much blue on this map for him to handle in my book. And these 2 wolves buffing up, what, 16 units? So that's so much firepower, and that's gonna be it. Shear's gonna take it. Boom. Okay, what do I want to say? Oh yeah, guys, there is a tournament coming up. I don't have the details, unfortunately. I should. I know it's going to be late January. If anybody knows in chat, man, Josh's tournament that's going to have the bands in it. If you know the exact date, I know it's sometime late January. I want to say it's the 30th, but I could be wrong. Let me know, guys. I definitely want to plug that. That is, I believe that is the next upcoming event after Jed Erickson's silly free-for-all tournament, man. That was a lot of fun. Really cool to see. So I love all these tournaments, man. I'm excited for this next one from Josh. I want to make sure to plug it, but not exactly sure when it's coming up. So if you guys know, let us know. And with that, let us hop into game number 7 here. Kerpa versus CFMGI Zerion 22. I think I'll just call him Zerion. And thanks for the follow, whoever that was. I heard the follow alert. I actually do have my alerts on tonight. But there's a delay, so not quite sure who that was at the moment. I'll try to find that out for you, give you a shout out. But let's hop into game number 7 here. Voldy, thanks for the follow, man. Okay, so in the 1 o'clock position, we've got Zerion. I guess I'll just call him for short. And his opponent in the 7 o'clock, we've got Kerpa. I like Zerion's build here, man. He's going for this Fox play, which I like to see. It's pretty fun, pretty cool style. I know it's pretty annoying to play against, but the real story here, I did catch it this time. I know I'm notorious for missing mole rushes in the early game because I talk too much, but mole rush is coming out for Kerpa. And Zerion, I believe, did get the scout off. And if you are new, guys, if you scout your opponent and you do not see his 5th farm queued up, that is a very big red flag you are getting mole rushed. And you need to come immediately back. Turrets are probably the best defense if you don't have your own moles. They can pretty effectively, with 1 or 2, you kind of build like 1 turret there, maybe 1 turret like up here, you know, where it'd be difficult for the moles to kind of come in. And, you know, Kerpa's going to have to back out, but I believe it was a no harm, no foul situation. I think Kerpa sold the moles off just fine. Correct me if I'm wrong there, guys. I know he's waiting for this one to get to full HP. There he goes, selling that one off. So, I mean, Zirion's going to be in a little bit of a better position. Like, even if somebody tries to mole rush you, right, and they're unsuccessful, but nobody really takes damage, I feel like the player who is defending is in a little better of a spot because most of the time they're able to get their farms down a little bit faster. Yeah, just slightly faster for his 7th here, but not a big difference, so. Alright, so let's see where this game's going to go. Now we're kind of stabilized as 8 farm, 2 tier 1 Warrens opening, right? And Zirion going up to a 3rd tier 1, which is perfectly fine. And now Zirion's got the map. You know, what you can do, you can't always do it, but if you've got a nice little base like this that's kind of tucked in, you know, especially if this back entrance wasn't there, you can rush up to a quick tier 3 with some defense, but it doesn't look like that's what Zirion wants to do. And he still certainly could. I mean, getting out a handful of squirrels and going into a tier 3 is not a bad option. But on the other side of the map, Kerpa is just trying to play this game a little bit slower. You know, again, I'm really impressed with the defense play we've been seeing tonight. I absolutely love this turret, man. That one turret is guarding 3 things at once. The high ground is good, but I wouldn't even hate to see it out on the map a little bit further. You know, just to prevent, yes, he's got to build another turret just to make sure he can't come in. And hey, man, thanks for the follow, Matchu. I appreciate it, dude. Both players getting a campfire here. And going up to their second bases pretty reasonably, so pretty mirror stuff so far. You know, nothing huge, but Zirion's holding some money. Yeah, it looks like it was just because he was scouting the map, but Kerpa did get his tier 2 a little bit faster than his opponent, and I believe he got his campfire a little bit faster, but we're going to get to some pretty even positions here. Kerpa deciding to go a little bit harder on tier 2 than his opponent. But I'm envisioning, you know, when all this is said and done and we're going to approach the mid-game, yeah, see 2 tier 2 as they're coming out for Zirion. They're going to be in about the same spot, and we actually might get a really cool game on our hands where both players are kind of microing ferret shots back and forth, so that'd be really exciting to see. Hey, thanks for the nice words, Matthew. I appreciate it, man. This game is super cool. This community is super cool, and I'm glad you enjoy the show. So, yeah, exactly. I mean, look at this, man. They're going to be basically exactly mirrored here. When you know, both players having. Oh, as I say that though, Zirion deciding he's safe enough, sells off that other tier 2 to get that fox started. I like it. It's going to be hard. Now, this is again, you know, maybe I don't like it actually because, man, for the fox to really be good, you got to get a lot of work done with it, and it's going to be impossible for Zirion to poke with this thing, you know, unless Kerpa takes his army out in the middle of the map, or maybe if Kerpa tries to take a third base, you know, maybe at that point the fox will be really strong, but, you know, there is no way Zirion is going to get high ground vision here. He's going to get this fox in range, you know, with those ferrets zoning, with the turret zoning, with that high ground, so it's going to be hard for him to get work done with the fox, and but Kerpa getting the owl kind of makes it less of a risk, and you know, because now he doesn't have this big tier 1, tier 2 based army that can just roll you over when you're doing something risky like getting out of tier 3. But again, this was kind of what I was talking about earlier on the stream, man. Like, these are well-timed tier 3s. These aren't tier 3 rushes. You know, if you look, both players have a lot of tier 1. They got a little bit of tier 2. They've got nice, healthy economies. And, you know, just add the tier 3 in, kind of like the icing on the baked cake, you know, of your army composition. So again, we're going to see this really big mid-game. Haven't seen a lot of scrappy games tonight, man. I'm a little disappointed about that, because scrappy games are what make it really fun, man. Seeing big, huge armies clash is awesome too, but my favorite games at Tooth and Tail are ones where it gets super scrappy. You know, we might be at like 6 minutes in, and these guys just barely have a handful of units because they constantly have to sell off warrens and, you know, constantly poking each other and doing damage. But, you know, you don't want to attack in. You know, if your opponent decides to build up some defense like this and to have nice defensive units like squirrels and ferrets here, you know, defender's advantage just gets multiplied even harder. So yeah, Zirion has a fox, but he can't really do anything with it. So more and more, I'm liking Kerpa's position. Now, where it's going to be difficult for Kerpa is getting into that third base situation, which is ultimately what he's going to want to do with this Owl-Falcon style. You know, he's got the tools for a very powerful late-game army composition, and he's going to have to secure a third base eventually, which once Kerpa tries to start securing a third base is where this Fox is going to get the most value. Yeah, this is a good bait from Zirion. He did take a lot of damage up front, but he's just trying to get his opponent to come out and fight him on the map so he can start using his Fox. But overall, I think that engagement went fairly well for Kerpa. Pretty even trade. And Kerpa's hoping now's the time to move in, but loses his commander. Oh, that hurts, man. The Owl's going to go down with it. And the Fox is now really starting to get some damage done, especially as this opponent is retreating. You're going to be able to come in here and snipe down these expensive Tier 2 and Tier 3 units, and the momentum has just seesawed right back into Zirion's favor here. That is the worst feel. Okay, the two worst feelings. No, okay. The three worst feelings in the world to have in Tooth and Tail. That's got to be the worst feeling, number one, is when you're kind of, like, let's say that was an even fight, right? It probably wasn't, but let's just say theoretically it was, man. And you're going into an even fight, and you lose your commander right at the beginning of it, and then, of course, your opponent capitalizes on it, takes out your flagship units. For me, that's usually the Fox. Like, I'll run in, try to give my, get high ground vision. That's what he was doing, trying to get high ground vision on those turrets, but those turrets just DPS his commander down so fast. God, that is the worst feeling in the world. The second worst feeling in the world is when you get ran around, or when you get attacked and you're not at home. But Kerpa coming in here and starting to get some harassment damage done. Sold off the Owl in favor of just a stronger bread and butter Tier 1, Tier 2 army, which I like to see. Oh man, that Fox just getting obliterated by the ferret shells here. And that's going to put Kerpa in a dominating position. Fantastic engagement for Kerpa, really getting that kill on his opponent's Tier 3 and really makes up for losing your own. And it's going to be hard for Zirion to come back from this. I mean, so much damage has just been executed by Kerpa. And Zirion does have one last base standing, but I don't envision Kerpa giving him the time to get this up here. Do a little bit of Tier 2, times 2 here, because I think this should be pretty bread and butter from here. But oh, it looks like I'm wrong. Kerpa's Falcons go down. But man, 4 ferrets is so much damage, dude. Like, God. These turrets are going to do nothing, but Zirion did a very good job in that engagement, really holding on the best he can, and now he's got some momentum. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to let him win the game, but it's going to certainly be enough to push Kerpa back and snipe a couple of these really important Tier 2 units, and that's rough, man. Kerpa overstayed his welcome a little bit, and it's really hard to tell in Tooth and Tail sometimes when that is, and he got punished for it really hard, man. He lost a lot of his important Tier 2 units, and Zirion is trying to push the issue here and engage further. And again, man, this can happen so often, man. Like, Zirion just won a big engagement, and he tries to push the issue. Now he loses all that value that he just gained from winning the previous big engagement, right? Like, he should, like, the play was Zirion should have chased like he was, sniped out the rest of those Tier 2 units, and then he just kind of needed to go home, but it's hard to tell, man. It's easy for me to say that, for us to say that, watching it, being critical, but, you don't know that, and I can understand Zirion's decision-making there. He took a little bit of a risk. He was like, you know what, I think I've done enough damage, I want to go in and seal the deal, and you can't see what your opponent's army is unless you scout it, right? So, Zirion did a good job this time around, going in and scouting what his opponent has, and realizes kind of a comparable amount of squirrels plus the turret, so he backs out for now. But I'm interested to see if Zirion can inch his way back into this game. Kerpa's army is better. Kerpa's got that 3 bases, so his economy has the potential to start getting ahead of his opponents, but Kerpa's going to be able to add on these critical Tier 2 units faster than Zirion here. And that's going to allow him to start bullying him, back and saying, hey man, all this map belongs to me, dude. You are stuck in your little corner. That's all you're going to get. And you might not even get that for very long, because I've got the ferret here to poke. And Kerpa's so ahead, man. But again, it's just hard to tell. Like, it's easy for us to say, oh man, Kerpa, just go in on that. But, he doesn't really know, and you want to be careful. because sometimes you only get one chance. Good sell on Zirion. He managed to sell it right before that ferret hit executed, so he did get a full refund. Zirion trying to set up his Alamo here, his last stand. And this is why I love taking ferrets, dude. Like, oh my god, ferrets are so fun to play with, because Kirpa is basically just pressuring Zirion out of his defender's advantage. He's like, you know what, you either gotta fight me out here, where you don't have defender's advantage, or at least as much, and if you don't, then I'm just gonna sit here and poke you to death. I mean, you're gonna have to come in at one point or another. And 9 times out of 10, it's a better idea to come in at the beginning of the poking, rather than letting your opponent kind of sit there and poke you and poke you and poke you over time and just get more value. Like, I'm kind of, you know, if your opponent's got you in a position where he's just kind of poking you to death, man, you kind of got to go all in on that. Maybe a good player in chat can disagree with me there, but, you know, because it's just going to be a matter of time. The longer time goes on, the more poke damage you're going to take, right? So your best chance, most likely, is going to be right at the beginning of the harassment. But Kirpa doing a good job just keeping Zirion contained here. And there's not going to be a whole lot Zirion can do anymore. You know, Kirpa's really sealed the advantage with the superior army. And he's got Zirion on his last leg. Great game, man. Ooh, alright. How we doing on time? 9:15. Making pretty good progress. I got, what, 6 more lined up for you nerds? Alright. Let's go into it, guys. Master Wario versus Uphold Hopperus. This guy's got like a super long, silly name about communism and mice, but let's get into it. Just look at his name. Oh, man. Okay, spawning in the 5 o'clock, we'll call him Uphold Hopperus. And his opponent in the 12 o'clock, Master Wario. Oh, man, the Uncle Butter Wolf, man. Please tell me we are going to get to see a boar sped up by the wolf, man. That would be super cool. Both these decks seem pretty reasonable. I mean, barbed wire isn't really, you know, I think pound for pound on paper, you know, turrets kind of outshine barbed wire, but it's not terrible, you know. It is cool to see guys experimenting with it, trying to find ways to make it work. So overall, Uphold Hopperus has a little bit of a more balanced deck. This is actually kind of the deck choice that Andy like intends you to take. You know, the game developers, you know, like 2 tier 1, 2 tier 2, a tier 3, and a defense is kind of like the bread and butter army composition, right? Where Wario here is going for this kind of, you know, Print F-esque style, you know, of taking 2 tier 3s. I'll have to see if it works. I like this little hidden campfire, but if Uphold Hopperus is good on his scouting, he's going to notice it. It looked like he was running over there, but changed his mind. And, yeah, especially in the early game, man, like, your first couple scouts really need to be to your opponent's base before you really get a complete lay of the land. Like, I feel like probably on your first 2 absolutely need to be to your opponent's base. Maybe your 3rd or 4th scout move out on the map, you can really start figuring out where everything is, which is very important, man. And especially in higher level play games, it's very difficult to find that opportunity where you have a chance to go scout the map. But I see it happen all the time, man, where, you know, one player just doesn't have a full, you know, lay of the land, doesn't have the area surveyed, and he can bite you in the butt. Ah, man. Uphold Hopperus stopped just short to see Master Wario's campfire, so Master Wario should be able to get away with that scot-free. But Wario here really needs to get the read on the fact that Hopperus has the toads, you know. There's a lot of merit to this this lizard-only style, you know, really popularized by players such as the Gentleman. And it gives you, for one, lizards pound for pound are better than squirrels, you know, just on the stat line in open engagements. And for 2, you know, you can win a base race so fast. Like, yeah, you're not going to have a well-rounded army, but once your opponent moves out, man, you just run around behind him and go knock him out. And here we go, Wario running up on his opponent. Only 1 toad went out, though. The other toads were not in position, man, and if they were, that would have been disastrous for Wario, but ends up trading, kind of evenly with his opponent. Still ends up losing, I believe, more lizards than his opponent lost tier 1, but he's going to get some structural damage done. Good decision making to turn around, target the squirrels. It looks like he'll be able to get this tier 2. Yeah, Hoppers sells it off. And, man, it looks like he might be able to get that gristmill, but no, instead push the issue and come in here to the main base and try to do more structural damage. Overstays his welcome a little bit. My critique there, man, would have been, take the free damage. If you can get $20 for free, but you got to work all day for 50, man, just take that free $20. Well, that's kind of a bad message. I'd much rather work all day for the 50, but you get what I'm saying, man. He could have got that gristmill for free with those lizards. Instead, he kind of flipped a coin, ran into his opponent's base, still got some Warren damage done, but constantly losing these lizards, but that's kind of fine. He's got an 8 farm economy, which he's been able to, keep this production up. He's just got lizards. He doesn't have anything crazy or expensive, but Hopperus, if I was him, man, I would definitely be getting more toads here. 3 toads is good, but not always what you need against this amount of lizards, especially when they don't all go off at the same time. 1 or 2 go off at a time. It gets more difficult. Thanks for the follow, man. I appreciate it. IGJ555A. Yeah, so Wario's gonna back it out for now, and this is that scrappy game I wanted, right? So here we are, getting to the 4:30 mark. Now, if you are a new player, maybe tuning in for the first time, at 5 minutes, your farms only last for 5 minutes. You start the game on 4 farms, so the 5-minute mark is a very critical point, and that's coming up here in 20 seconds. You'll see what I mean if you take a look in the player's little profile area there. You'll see that 8 number near the pigs. That's about to go down to 4. And then the other farms are going to start following suit shortly, mining out, So second bases really need to be taken here. Uphold Hoppers did manage to get a second base. Wario still got this campfire up and running. But Wario here, man, he's got to get a second base. Sure enough, he does. To keep his economy rolling. As a general rule of thumb, if you're not sure like how much to invest in economy, to not oversaturate, undersaturate, I like to say, keeping up an 8 farm economy throughout the game is normally a smart play. Like right around 5 minutes, if you have a second base established with 4 farms on it, your economy is in great shape. Now there is an exception to that. If we get into these like split map Cold War macro games, there is merit to just kind of saturating the hell out of your army, going up to 20, 30 farms, and building this huge death ball of units, as quickly as you can. But in scrappier games like this, you got to really be careful not to oversaturate, because you can get caught where your opponent's got a better army. And right now, Hopperus has a good amount of farms here, but Wario's a little behind. He needs to get a couple more farms made on his second base, and it looks like he's starting to do just that. But the real story here is the tech switch into squirrels that happened recently. I probably should have mentioned that earlier, but the borer is about to be out. And toads are still good against squirrels. I mean, they're going to soak damage. If they get explosions on, they're going to blow them up just as effectively as they blow up lizards. But toads are much more effective against lizards because they clump up a lot more, which makes them do even more splash damage. But Hopperus here going to start the poke. Going to micro these toads, but to his big dissatisfaction, Uncle Butters is on the field here. That's going to give Master Wario's army a ton of damage and tanking potential. Uncle Butters has a ton of HP. It's like 140 or 160 or something like that. He's going to come in here and push the issue. Chameleon's up, but Wario doesn't really care about his other units right now. The big thing for Wario here is this Butters has got to stay alive. Not trading very effectively one-on-one with a Chameleon. Uncle Butters is really designed to do a lot of damage to Tier 1 units. Yeah, and a little bit of misplay from Master Wario, man. It definitely wasn't worth it to go all in with that boar there. He should have just dragged the boar back and kept it for the big Tier 1 engagements. As you can see, even 1v1ing a Chameleon, the boar doesn't shine so much, and definitely doesn't do a lot of damage to buildings either. But, stuff happens, no big deal. Wario's still in this for sure. And he made the right call. He went back and he sold off that Uncle Butters. He realizes I'm not going to be able to afford that again anytime soon. And he's just going to work on his second base, basic army composition and economy. So I'll speed this up a little bit. And the big story here is going to be this third base. And it looks like Hopperus is going to be able to take one now. And these 3 bases are going to be easy for Hopper to defend, and it's going to be difficult for Wario. He's only got 2 options, you know, for a third base, and both of them are pretty brutal for him. I think this one is probably best, because it's not going to be as easy for Uphold Hopperus to get over there and harass it, right? Did the pig kill Butters? No, Chameleon did. Oh, well, yeah, I guess near the end, you're right. Yeah, the Chameleon died, so yeah, I guess the pigs did the final damage, but the majority of the damage to Uncle Butters was caused, for 1, during that first engagement, where Uphold Hopperus attacked, and then for 2, from those Chameleons out of our red player here, but Hopperus is in a good spot, man. He's got this third base up. Master Wario recognizes it now, so Wario's gonna have to do something soon. He's gonna have to claim a third base. He's getting up a lot of Falcons, which, you know, are great late-game units, but really what Wario wants here, what he needs, is this third base and eventually a Woof. And Hopper's kind of in the same boat, and he's looking to move out now. This high ground is gonna help, but not so much with the Falcon here. Man, and this could have went a lot better if Uphold Hopperus Chameleons were at the front in position at the start of that army. He's still able to take the fight, but that's one thing you got to remember when you're playing with Chameleons, guys, is the positioning of those Chameleons. You know, you want those Chameleons to take the damage. If you're really good with your micro, you can have them tank damage and then, you know, tell them to retreat and they'll re-stealth, you know, when they're about to die. But that's the Chameleon's really big purpose, you know, is to tank all that damage for the squirrels. So you got to make sure when you are engaging with Chameleons that they are up there on the front. Like this one is better engagement with that Chameleon. It is going to go down though. But Uphold Hopper is going to take that fight, man. And it is kind of like a proven law of Tooth and Tail at this point. Like 12 squirrels and falcons. 12 squirrels, 2 falcons versus 12 squirrels, 2 chameleons. The chameleons actually win in that because they tank so much damage. They do a lot of damage too. I don't want to underrate that. You know, yeah, the falcon, you would think, well, falcons can't hit, I mean, chameleons can't hit the falcons, right? The falcons can hit the chameleon, but it doesn't work like that in reality, man, because the chameleons just tank so much damage, and they allow the squirrels to just melt your opponents and then get up on those falcons eventually, you know, once the squirrels are all down, or if you can target fire them. But Hopper's a little bit out of position over here, taking this campfire. That's going to give Wario an opportunity, man. If he can get in here and snipe this gristmill, that would be huge. Instead, he's opting to do some economic damage, but man, I think he had the window to just do a gristmill snipe, and that would have been better for him, but now he's going to take this engagement with Hopperus, who does get back. Hopperus suffers some critical economic damage there, but, you know, Wario loses basically his whole army to do so. But the good news is Wario did manage to get out his own third base, and Hopperus has a strong army, has got good game sense, knows now's a great time to move out. Coming in here, better engagement this time with the chameleons. You'll notice some tanking on the front line, and again, if your micro is super good, you can like try to keep those chameleons alive, but no big deal. And yeah, good micro there, keeping the toad alive, but unfortunately blows up in the gristmill there as well. If you do play with toads, you do want to make sure to kind of hold the button on the toads so they don't run themselves into buildings, which is very inefficient. You know, unless it's like something you're just trying to break really, really fast, like snipe a gristmill or take down a turret or something like that. But 9 times out of 10, you don't want those toads engaged into buildings. Dude, everybody talks about the way I say woof, man. Maybe it's just because I'm Southern, I don't recognize it or something, but I've got it not so bad anymore, but when the woof was really popular, dude, people would poke fun at me and meme me for that all the time. So I don't know, it sounds normal to me. I guess the joke is like I say woof, like W-O-O-F. You know, I guess I don't pronounce the L enough, like wolf. I guess I don't know. Woof, man, get them wolves out. But it's kind of equalizing a little bit here. I mean, Master Wario was able to get out his third base, which is what's really important in this game, and you know, they're both kind of back to this. This is such a scrappy game, if you notice. We're 13 minutes in, right? You compare this to some of those other 13-minute matches where these huge armies are out. This is what, I think these are the more exciting games, man, where it's super scrappy. And Hopperus here is going to take advantage of Wario kind of putting all of his eggs in the basket over here, which isn't a bad play. Actually, I agree with this a lot. You know, it's going to be too difficult for Wario to defend these multiple positions, so it looks like he sold off his warrants. He's going to concede these gristmills that are basically burned out anyways, but the problem with this is it's going to be harder for Wario to make any claim out over these last remaining economic structures. I feel like those could go to Hopperus very easily this game. So Wario's kind of hunkered down on his new main base over here in the 9 o'clock position, just trying to stay alive in this game. We'll have to see how he can manage a comeback here. Speed this up a little bit as these guys are kind of chilling. A lot of Falcons out for Wario here, and Hopper's trying to be careful. I like this, you know, not overcommitting, just kind of coming in, doing a little bit of damage. You see really high-level players, the guys like Chip and stuff, are really great at that, you know, in any RTS game. You see it a lot in, like, StarCraft as well. You know, in the high levels, it's really all about just those little bits of damage you can do here or there. You know, can I sneak my lizards around and just snipe a tier 1 warren and get out of there with no losses? Or, you know, can I, you know, use a ferret to kill just a couple squirrels? Like, those things add up over time, man. And if you can keep that, constant harassment over your opponent, you can get in a situation where it's like a death by 1,000 paper cuts, you know? Alright, Hopper's coming in. Doesn't look like this boar is going to be out in time, but he's going to have to engage through the water, which is going to be rough for him. A couple of these pigs are firing back too, and somehow, some way, it looks like Wario manages to hold there. And that might be what he needed, man. Is he going to commit to trying to get this Butters out? We'll have to see. I mean, he's got to finance the army he's got in front of him right now. I don't think he's worried about rushing that out, but I don't know. It's rough. If he does manage to get another Butters out, that'd be very good for him. But I'd imagine, you know, another attack's going to happen here soon. Yeah, if I was Wario, I would just hold on, because right when you start attacking, you know, Warrens are going to start replacing your dead units. So it's going to be hard to get that 180 food. I like that decision by Wario. If you are going to commit to that boar, you might as well allow it to get started. Hell, at this point, I would even wait for the boar to finish if I was Wario. Maybe try to get some harassment in here. Like, a good example of that, you notice, you know, it'd be great to see just a couple units come over here, knock out this tier 2 Warren, and run away, as Hopper's army is kind of over here on this right side of the map. And, you know, Wario's really got to end this game right here, right now, though. If he lets this go on, Hopper's finally feels comfortable enough to get out that wolf, so Wario's going to be in a situation where he's got a strong army. He's got a tier 3 unit. But this is it for him, man. He doesn't have any more economic, capabilities on this map. No more opportunities for additional income. The rest of the map is kind of Hopperus at this point. So this is the big attack, man. But Hopperus is doing the same. Master Wario is out of position here. Oh no! And Hopper is going to be able to come in here and start devastating the main base of Wario. But Wario is doing the same to his opponent, but the problem here is Wario will not win a base race. Man, Hopper could have just won the game right there by target firing down that gristmill, but instead decides to engage into the superior army of Master Wario, and I think that's going to be it, man. That feels so bad. Like, Hopperus could have won. I guess he wasn't 100% positive that was the only gristmill on the map for Wario there, but that would have been it, man. You know, Hopperus attacked when Wario wasn't there. Could have just targeted that gristmill and won the game, but Wario instead takes the better fight with the boar and takes the game. Alright. What's up, everybody? Thanks for hanging out with me tonight on this wonderful Thursday evening. Make a pretty good time here. Plan to go for another half hour. How many more games we got? 5 more. All right, let's see if we can fit it in. I might do all 5, even if we run over a little bit for you guys. So let's hop into it. And guys, please, if you know when Josh's tournament is, man, let me know. Put it in the chat. That's gonna be the next tournament coming up. Oh, well, I'm getting a message from Box saying that they're trying to host a tournament on Monday. So definitely got to get my act together with these players a little bit. Box, if you're watching the stream right now, say something in chat, man. Plug your tournament for sure. He's trying to get a tournament going on Monday, so that'd be really cool to see. So let's hop into game number 9 here. Philotanic versus Disney Whirl. Alright, spawning in the 8 o'clock position, we've got Philotanic. And at the 12 o'clock, memeing it up with his name, we got Disney Whirl. Kind of misspelled meme, right? Now, both players have the Badger. Disney Whirl does have that pigeon that we normally recommend for a Badger build. Just because I think Badger probably benefits with the pigeon better than any other unit. I think that's a pretty safe statement to make. But Philotanic opted for the moles this game. Doesn't opt for an early rush, but moles still aren't terrible to reinforce a push later in the game, so we could see them come down with that. And you know, it's one of those things where you just kind of have it as an option, right? You know, if there's a golden opportunity to execute a 2 or 3 mole rush, you have that in your deck. You have that chance. But man, this is a very greedy campfire from Disney Whirl. I love it, man. We'll have to see if Philotanic scouts it. Now, I would have rather seen like this campfire get taken like that, you know, because Philotanic should absolutely see that, right? Like, he's gonna be able to take that out eventually. But hey, you never know, man. If his scouting isn't on par and Disney Whirl is able to maintain that campfire for even longer than a minute, you know, it's definitely worth it. So, and in the long run, he's kind of stealing money from his opponent, right? Because if you want to split this map, well, while this game's gearing up, let's look at how this map would split. It's actually going to split pretty evenly. Philotanic's going to have 3 expansion bases with the campfire. Meanwhile, Disney Whirl is also going to have 3 expansion bases with the campfire. And this kind of campfire in the corner probably goes to Philotanic, so you could make the argument the map in the long run is, you know, Philotanic's got 1 more campfire. That's normally not a big deal. And don't play into, you know, the quote-unquote fairness of the map a lot, guys. You know, what I've been trying to stress is, you know, as long as you have a natural base, I don't want to hear you whining. Like, if you don't have an easy second base to take, you know, then yeah, that really hurts. But as long as you got an easy second base, your opponent could have every other Gristmill on the map, and you still kind of have the chance to do some mid-game stuff for sure. Nice harassment coming in here from Disney Whirl. I love seeing that type of stuff. Definitely worth it. You know, loses a few lizards there, but takes out a couple pigs. I'll take that trade any day of the week. But what he's got to worry about here is the counterattack out of Philotanic. But lucky for Disney Whirl, Philotanic's main army lagged behind his lizards, and Disney Whirl was able to take out a couple of those lizards before everybody else got there. And Philotanic also used a mole or 2 in that attack to reinforce the army. I like to see that a lot. And he's going to overstay his welcome a little bit, and Disney Whirl is going to be able to hold. So overall, man, I would say Disney Whirl is in a very good spot this game. I mean, he's got the campfire over his opponent, right? He managed to kill 2 pigs of his opponent, which are being rebuilt, but that's still significant damage, man. You got to calculate, obviously losing the 60 food, but then all that lost mining time in between, you know, when you did not have a pig there. So it's actually more than 60 foods worth of damage. And now Disney Whirl should feel pretty comfortable, man. He's going to get campfire number 2. He's going to just build a turret, which I like to see. You know, 1 turret is great. You know, don't overinvest in turrets or anything. And kind of try to kite the fight to be in that turret area. You got to be careful if you're Philotanic here, man. You don't want to just kind of move units into the meat grinder. At some point, he's going to have to give in to the fact that this game is going to go into a mid-game. Sure enough, he does, and takes that second base, which kind of late, you know, but makes sense because we had a pretty engaged early game here. So both these players not feeling comfortable enough to take a second base till that 4-minute mark. But Disney Whirl is in a good spot, man. Again, he's had these 2 campfires for a while. He actually did get away with this campfire over there, man. And it feels bad for Philotanic. You know, he still hasn't really done a full scout there. So he's unaware of them. 3 turrets is a little bit excessive, but it's not terrible. You know, 3 is fine, I guess. He could have done. He could probably get away with 2, even 1. He's still got this area over here open, which I'd love to see a little bit later on when Disney World's not paying attention. You know, like just those 6 lizards kind of run in here and try to bop a couple pigs. But Disney World is aware of that possibility and throws down a couple turrets and starts getting these mines into play, man. And but here we go. Now this campfire gets discovered. And Philithanic does some damage, pulls out, but Philithanic did get a read that his opponent has mines there. So yeah, Matthew's asking in the chat about subs. Yeah, I don't know, man. I've been on the fence about accepting money on this channel. I mean, I do have affiliate status. I've had affiliate status for a long time here. I mean, I don't know. If people really want to sub, you certainly can, but maybe I'll set it up if there's enough demand for it. I do appreciate it, man. It is cool to see the support, but all the support I ask for is just check out the show, man, and submit your replays to me and be involved with the tournaments and stuff like that come up in the scene. So that's all I want, man. But let's see. What is going on in this game? Disney World is still really just on this 18 lizard. He's floating a lot of money, so I'm interested to see where he wants to go from here. He did kind of overbuild turrets, in my opinion. I mean, he's super safe, right? Like, nothing's going to get through there anytime soon, but he doesn't really need that many turrets. He could have got the job done similarly with less. But now the turrets make a little more sense to me as the 2 Badgers start getting built. If he can manage to get those 2 Badgers out, man, it's going to be rough. Philithanic getting a Badger out of his own, but Philithanic does not have the pigeons, right? Which is going to be very important in that Badger engagement, but Philithanic doesn't seem to be waiting for his Badger. He's deciding right now is the time to move out. I was curious to see if he scouted his opponents, but I think he built the moles, man, and that means that he's ready to move now. There's no reason to build those moles until you're ready to engage, so he either needs to engage now or sell those moles off and build something else. Let's see what the decision is. Badger has started. Maybe he's just going to wait for the Badger. The Badgers are coming out for Disney World too, so we're going to see some sick Badger versus Badger action here coming up soon. Fast forward it a little bit. Philithanic just grabbing a 3rd base, no big deal. Yeah, he really wants to come in here, man, but those mines, dude, those mines are going to be a lot of surprise damage, you know, a lot of extra DPS into Disney World if Philithanic attacks in. All right. Okay, Badgers are on the field for both players. Badger number 2 is a little bit ahead for Disney World. Philithanic moving out here with a lot of moles to back him up. He's got a Badger. He's trying to identify the weak point to come in here and get damage done on his opponent. Comes in here and takes out some turrets. And trying to micro him back up for now, which you got to do with the Badger. But I'm worried, man. Disney World, double Badger now. All these pigeons are going down, however. And the Badgers do too. And Philithanic still has an army left over. Man, those pigeons did not help Disney World's cause very much in that battle at all. And Disney World just trying to be careful, man. Trying to avoid that big defensive slaughterhouse that Disney World has up front. And just kind of poke in and prod in wherever he can. He gets some turrets down. He takes a lot of damage. Deals a lot of damage, rather, to Disney World's economy. And now Philithanic's in a fantastic spot. I'd like to see him sell off one of these Tier 3 Warrens. Looks like he's going to just do that. Boom, there you go. Now you can, pay for that one Badger instead of trying to go for 2. Disney World does the same. Coming back in here to keep the pressure on. He's going to be able to get that Gristmill, which is a big deal. But Disney World's not out for the count yet. He's still got another base mining. I'm not sure if Philithanic is aware of that. No, he's not. It's been really difficult for Philithanic to scout out his opponent this game, just because that heavy defensive line that Disney World's had. And I like this play out of Disney here, realize that, okay, man, it's getting too scrappy for me to just have all this food floating here in turrets. I really need to get more of an army out. We'll see if it bites him in the butt. No, it changes his mind to economy, and that's really not what he needs. Philithanic is positioning himself for another fight. He's got some moles here to back it up. The Badger is trekking across the map, but the Badger gets here early for Disney World. But again, man, these pigeons are just kind of dying in this engagement. And this Badger micro is decent, but he's getting backed into a corner. He's going to stay alive for now, but the Badger's out for Philothanic. And that's going to be rough stuff for his opponent here. We're drawing into what might be one of the last engagements of the game. You know, Philothanic trying to be careful to not just kind of waste DPS where he doesn't need it. Gonna get that Badger right here, I believe. That the healing is gonna help it for a minute, but yeah, Badger goes down. And that's gonna be it for Disney World. Sure enough, taps out. Great game. All right. A couple more here. 942. Man, I don't know if we'll get to everything. I'll try. We'll see. Let's hop into game number 10 here. Let's keep the show moving. Okay. Spawning in the 10 o'clock position, we've got Ramako against his opponent, Mishi. Now, Mishi's got very meta deck here. Very powerful combination, indeed. I believe it was made popular by Chip during his ladder stream. So, Mishi is well known as one of the best players in Tooth and Tail. So, Ramako's got his work cut out for him this game. We'll see how these players decide to play this one out. Ramako does have the owl and the skunk, so those are going to be pretty key components to his army composition. If this game goes long enough, Ramako might just be able to overwhelm Mishi with an owl count. So we'll have to see. You know, it's going to be hard for Ramako to expand. You know, he's got this base that's a little bit out. You know, that's obviously going to be his natural, but going beyond that, you know, if Mishi can effectively claim this area, you know, he's going to be able to contest these two gristmills of his opponent very easily with this high ground he's got here, with the close distance. So we'll have to see how they play it out. Mishi going for a 6-farm double Warren in response to scouting his opponent's 8-farm opening. So this isn't really an attack Mishi planned from the beginning. This is a reaction to what your opponent is doing, which I love to see. Ramako throwing down a handful of turrets. We'll have to see if it's enough. Mishi gonna get one turret, lose a lizard. He's gonna lose a couple more lizards here, but he does manage to get a pig. He's gonna back out. Overall, that was a successful attack for Mishi. Ramako needs to get that farm restarted. Needs to sell off those turrets and try to start to stabilize in this game. And it's gonna be rough because Ramako doesn't have toads to deal with these lizards here. He does have skunks, but you know, the word on the street is skunks are a little better against squirrels than they are lizards, as, you know, skunks do damage over time in those clouds, right? So lizards move so fast, they don't normally take a ton of damage, and Ramako should be okay here with his defender's advantage, with this handful of units. I don't think Mishi can get any more damage done. That's perfectly fine. Mishi isn't investing anymore into this attack. He's simply just threatening with the units he already has. They're going up to a nice safe amount of tier 1. Before committing to any higher tech plays. I thought Mishi was well known for sacrificing badgers. Bird, man. Oh, man. Now, Ramako getting up the skunks, and we'll see what Mishi's decision is here. Mishi's gonna do something. I mean, could keep rolling on the tier 1, but that's not normally Mishi's playstyle, yeah. Gets the campfire, gets the tier 2, and we're just going to approach the mid-game in, you know, reasonable fashion here. If I'm being critical of Ramako, he really needs to sell these turrets off, man. He really needed to do that after the aggression, because he's just kind of wasting money there. And Mishi's just going to be perfectly happy seeing those couple turrets there, not really doing anything for Ramako at the moment. Yeah, finally Ramako gets some memo and begins to sell off these turrets he no longer needs, and both players kind of going up to a tier 2-centric mid-game. And with these armies, they can try to secure a second base, or they can try to go for a timing attack. Really depends on what they decide to do. Mishi's just going to continue scouting his opponent, try to get a feel for the army composition of his opponent. Now that he sees the skunks, I wonder if that's going to influence him to drop squirrels, or at least not build any more squirrels, or he might just be waiting for his tier 2 to finish up and try to do a bit of a strong, mid-game timing attack. We are getting up to the 4-minute mark here, so these players need to start thinking about expansions at the very least. Mishi's going to check the status of the expansion over here. Going to be happy to see that has not yet been taken. And I'm wondering if either player is going to go for a move out here now. They kind of have their core army together that they want. You can see very similar here. Ramako's floating a little bit of food, so it doesn't quite have, missing 180 food worth of squirrels at the moment. But it's just going to go super heavy on this tier 2, man. I'm interested to see if this works out for him or not. I like this decision. It's a bold move, but it could pay off. Taking this gristmill instead of the one over to the left, he's trying to put his foot on the ground here and claim some territory on this map. Great response out of Mishi. Yeah, that's what makes this so hard, man, is that high ground favors Mishi here. Now, Ramako does have the pigeons to give him some high ground. And if he can start sneaking out a couple turrets of his own, that's going to help him out a bunch, but I think it makes sense, right? Because actually I like that play a lot. He only used this gristmill as a map move, right? He's not going to actually build anything here, which is going to make it harder for Mishi to read how much economy his opponent's investing into his second base. And then it's also going to be a much more safe, right? Because that's the problem with doing something like taking a base this close to the front line, is if the fight goes bad for you and Mishi gets the upper hand, Mishi's going to easily be able to get economic damage done, right? So I'd love to see Ramako just build up his farms over here, and he needs to get started. Mishi's economy is starting to pull ahead here, and he does just that. He gets a few farms up himself, and these guys are just trying to be careful. Mishi wants to come in and poke with the falcons, but snakes are a pretty good answer to that. So just taking their time, don't want to overextend here. You don't want to make a mistake and take a bad engagement. So we might see this draw out for a minute. I'll go ahead and go up to ×2 speed for a minute. Ramako just saying screw it, man, and really saturating the hell out of that second base. Could pay off for him if Mishi continues to take his time and not push in any, directly. If he doesn't move in and allows Ramako's economic advantage from taking all those farms to pay off, it'll be great. But really, it's not the biggest deal in the world because, Mishi's taking his second base farms very quickly as well. He's also got those 2 campfires, right, which are 2 extra farms. So this is crazy. Ramako now feeling confident enough to throw the owl down. Mishi has not yet thrown down his wolf. So Ramako winning that tier 3 race. And that owl is going to be very critical to Ramako winning this game. Once he gets out a couple owls, he's really just going to be able to start harassing Mishi, get free damage done over time, and that value is going to add up. So, meanwhile, Mishi is going to create a stronger direct engagement army with the wolf, right? So, the owl is going to allow Ramako to sit back and kind of poke and send mice in over time, while the wolf is just going to make Mishi's army very strong. And another thing the wolf is going to do is buff these falcons up, right? Which is going to make kind of poking in and chipping at your opponent a lot easier because they're going to be hasted, they're going to have extra damage. See if that plays out. Yeah, there's so much tension in this game, dude. Ramako just trying to claim gristmills. It's a little bit of money of an investment. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I kind of don't mind that 3 o'clock base being claimed. I think maybe that 1 o'clock's a little unnecessary at this moment. Because that 3 o'clock base is supposed to be Mishi's third, right? So if Ramako can claim that, good snipe in. Yeah, this is what I was worried about. This is what's going to give Mishi some good harassment capability. Those falcons, when they're sped up. And, here we go. The big engagement coming down. And I feel like Mishi's got a stronger army at this point, but backs out for now. Doesn't want to take a prolonged engagement under those skunks and snakes. And Ramako's still in the game. Mishi, though, gets that gristmill knocked out, which Ramako isn't super worried about. But this is going to be a little bit more of an issue. Mishi takes another favorable engagement there, loses his chameleons, but not a whole lot more. And he's going to keep the issue pushed. He needs to be careful. not to overextend. If he kills that owl, it's gonna be massive. The owl lives though. And Ramako holding on and pushing Mishi back. I think that Gristmill did its job, right? It allowed Ramako some breathing room to start claiming a little bit of this middle of the map area. But Ramako really needs to start utilizing this third base a little bit more. And yeah, I kind of misspoke earlier. It looks like Mishi's third is obviously right there, right? But these wing bases in the 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock are supposed to be each other's fourth, right? So Ramako's up to 2 owls, man. And 2 owls is where it starts getting deadly. Mishi's gonna come in here, take the engagement, manages to take out 1 owl and backs out. Doesn't want to take that fight underneath 4 skunks worth of gas clouds for too long. We're approaching the 11-minute mark here. We'll see how these guys want to play out the late game. Mishi's been doing a good job of keeping his core units alive. That Wolf has been staying alive. These Falcons are, staying alive relatively well. Chameleons are dying, but that's kind of their job, so not a big deal there. And Mishi now taking this third. It's going to allow his economy to be just fine. And what really hurt for Ramako in that last engagement, man, was losing that second owl, dude. Like, that is rough, because you really need to get out, like, 3 owls to be a force to be reckoned with here. Where all Mishi needs is 1 wolf, and, I mean, look at this, just buffing up those Falcons, and it's going to do so much damage. Oh, yeah, almost got a little too short, but does see that Gristmill in the 3 o'clock. Hasn't been saturated yet, though, so... Let's see if Ramako can figure out a way to get back into this game. Right now, I feel like I'm definitely in Camp Mishi here, but 4 skunks and 4 snakes are hard to engage into, and this turret line out of Ramako makes a lot of sense as well. Yeah, there's owl number 2 again, and that's what Ramako is trying to do at this point, man. All Ramako needs to do is stay alive and get out a good owl count. And that'll put him in a spot to take a favorable engagement and deal damage over time to his opponent. Yeah, pretty even so far. Ramako playing very well. Going toe-to-toe with Mishi in this fight, so we're almost hitting the 14-minute mark here. We'll do a little more times 2. Okay, Mishi coming in to fight again. Fighting in the gas, fighting against those turrets, though. And I think Ramako takes that engagement, which he's going to be happy about. He really needs a little bit more momentum in this game, And it's really on Mishi to figure out a way to get something done. Now, Mishi can make a strong late-game army with wolves and falcons, sure. Yeah, this is what I love to see. This is why lizards are so great in a deck, because you can just have 6 of them, do this little runaround attack, this flank, and you don't jeopardize your main position here too much. But Mishi was not here to micro his units, and Ramako is taking a very good engagement. He might be overstaying his welcome a little bit. We'll have to see. Lizard's coming back and just going to get mowed by the turrets, and yeah, looks like Mishi's going to come out on top. Mishi needs to be careful not to overextend himself, and sure enough he doesn't. Backs out for now. And man, this game is awesome. Very scrappy, very back and forth, but owl number 2 is out, and now this is where it might get a little out of control. 1 owl is manageable. 2 owls is kind of like, uh-oh, and 3 owls is very difficult. So Ramako's almost there, man. If he could somehow get a 3rd owl out, that would be really ridiculous. But he needs to be careful to not let these mice get drawn out. He wants these mice to build up and run in there all together and get the maximum amount of value possible. Mishi's going to go try to finish the job here on this 3 o'clock base. Should be able to. But he's not here to micro. That could have been more deadly from Ramako. He came in to harass with the snakes. Only gets a couple stacks of poison out, though. Doesn't get him on the falcons. Now he gets a couple on the falcons. Beautiful, man. It's definitely the kind of thing you want to do. These lizards going down for free against the mice, but not the biggest deal in the world. And now Mishi's starting to get a little choked out, man. We're getting to the 16-minute mark. He does manage to get his 4th base up over to the side. We'll see if he's able to maintain it. Yeah, Ramako's just going to sit. Well, thought about it. Let's see, does he get owl number 3 to float a little bit of money? He wanted to just send the mice over, but Mishi's kind of hip to it, brings his army over, but can't defend 2 places at once. So Ramaka's going to try to come in and reclaim the middle of the map, but all his mice being on that one base is going to make this engagement a little more difficult. Gonna go in for it, though. Needs to be careful. That's a lot of DPS from Mishi up front, but that's a lot of damage over time for Ramako with those snakes and skunks. Tries to build a turret line here. Doesn't seem to be able to get up, but tanked a lot of damage nonetheless. This attack is beginning to become very successful for Ramako here. The wolf is gonna go down, and that might be all she wrote for Mishi. And Ramako taking a game off a very high-ranked player here. That was a fantastic game, man. Alright, guys, it is 10 o'clock. Ugh, okay. Let's see how long these games are. If they're not super long, we'll get through them. But I am pretty tired, so I don't want to do anything crazy like super long stream tonight. But let's keep this thing moving, man. Let's hop into game number 11 here. Necromanticer versus Print F. Spawning in the 8 o'clock position, we've got Necromanticer. And his opponent in the 1 o'clock, Print F. Yeah, man, and get out your notepads here, man. Print F has been refining this build lately. I didn't see, it looks like he dropped the pigeon for the barbed wire here, experimenting, but it's a pretty strong combo. You know, Print F wants to get out of Fast Fox when he can, and if he can't, I believe the strategy is to go into like some ferret, like a single ferret warren, I should say, with an expansion, kind of drive the game off. But Print F's late game army, of wolf, fox, ferret with squirrels on the front line is very powerful, man. When ferrets get that steroid buff from the wolf, they do a lot of damage, and that fox getting the extra speed and attack speed really helps it out too. So I'd like to see if this game comes together for him. And meanwhile, Necromanticer, going for a more of a bread and butter approach. He's got the squirrel lizard, so he's got options for the early game. He's got some tier 2, and he's got the owl in case it goes super late. And but what's crazy here is Print F trying to do heavy set style, proxy rush with his turrets, and gonna get sniffed out by Necromanticer in time, and it's gonna be unsuccessful for him. Maybe that back turret is gonna be able to get up. Ooh, maybe he gets a pig here. Yeah, he's gonna get a pig. He loses 60 food. He's gonna lose 120 here. Gets pig number 2. Damn. So yeah, he gets a couple pigs there and a turret. Loses a turret and a gristmill. So overall, I'd say that was successful for Print F. And look at this, man. Goes straight to a fast wolf. That is interesting. Normally, you would expect him to rush out a fast fox. So I'd like to see what the game plan is with the wolf. Maybe he's hoping to do a push out with squirrels and ferrets where they're buffed out by the wolf, or utilize the wolf's capability to make your pigs mine faster, farm faster, I should say. Yeah, and then this is the one situation I always talk about. Go easy on the turrets, but when you're rushing for a fast tier 3, man, the studies have shown lately the best thing to do is just build a crap ton of turrets, man, and just be very safe. Kind of weird positioning from Print F here. I'd imagine I would have expected those 2 turrets to kind of be on this front side a little more, but I don't think it's going to matter too much. The wolf gets paid for. Now the question is Necromanticer hip to this? If he's familiar with Print F's playstyle, he should know that Print F likes to go for a fast tier 3. It doesn't look like he actually saw those turrets yet, though, so the turrets are a very red flag. Both these players are very good, right? So if Necromanticer goes in, he doesn't have to even see the tier 3, he's just got to see these turrets, and that's really going to be enough to get the information. But man, Print F is an absolute madman. Goes for a 8 farm wolf and to an 8 farm fox, and this makes a lot of sense psychologically too. With that early cheesy aggression that came out of Print F, now Necromanticer is a little bit scared. There's this kind of mindset you get in after you get rushed, where sometimes you don't scout your opponent that hard, And Prnef might be able to get away with this here. He doesn't have an army, but he's got some good defense. He's not slouching on his expansion, and he's going to have this core Wolf-Fox composition out. The Wolf is already out, buffing the Fox's production rate, buffing the mining rate of these pigs here. But Prnef is real bread and butter at this point, man. His economy's in the lead. You know, he's got more of a standard army. He took more of a reasonable tier 3, and it is that owl. But here we go. Fox on steroids is out on the map. And this buff's going to last long enough to where it can move out without the wolf for a little while and still be buffed. Rare's off now. He's going to back out. Necromantizer didn't build the lizards, so lizards are kind of a good answer to the fox and, chase it down sometimes. So Necromantizer's got to be careful not to take too much damage here, but interesting. Yeah, now he's going to build all those lizards, man. And lizards are really good against foxes if you're having trouble with foxes on the ladder. Chameleons as well. You can lay what's called a chameleon track. It takes 4 hits from a chameleon to kill a fox, I believe. So just 2 chameleons hitting it twice, or 4 chameleons all hitting it once. If you put the chameleons like right here, for example, and the fox just runs by and gets bopped upon. Mines too, man. I was playing James Bowring a lot on the ladder. Great player, and he was using mines against me very effectively when I was going for fox styles. So that's definitely an option as well. And we are into a very strange game here indeed, man. Prnef has this weird wolf, fox, ferret style that he's been kind of coining lately. And meanwhile, Necromantizer is playing a little more by the book. And now he's got these lizards out that are going to help him prevent harassment damage from the fox. And another more basic answer to the fox, too, is just defensive structures, too. Like balloons are like the fox's worst nightmare. Turrets are pretty hard for the fox as well, so there are things you could do against it. But where it gets really difficult is when you're against a very strong player like Prnef, who has fantastic micro, right? And they know how to keep their fox alive very well. But Prnef wasn't able to get a lot done with the fox this game. To be perfectly honest, he went in there, killed a pig, maybe sniped a couple of units, but that was it. And the barbed wire coming down now to split the map in an effective way. Great flank attack here from Necromantizer. Discovers Prnef trying to take a sneaky gristmill and snipes that out for free. Prnef might have been thinking about moving out. Yeah, sells a little bit of barbed wire so he can come out. And here we go, man. We're going to see these jacked up ferrets and falcons trying to get some work done, but Prnef doesn't have a front line, Man, he's able to kite so well because these units are so fast. That it just doesn't matter here. And we'll see if the poking out of Prnef is going to be enough over time to get this done. Really, really innovative strategy coming out of Prnef here. We'll have to see if Necromantizer's more heads-up play is going to be enough to take it down. Fox number 3 on the way. Yeah, buffed up foxes by wolves, man. And ferrets. Like, look how often those ferrets are dealing out those presents. But slowly over time, Prnef's getting a little bit chipped. But so is Necro. Necro actually lost a lot of lizards there. Yeah, this is just such a treat to watch, dude. Really cool game. We'll have to see who takes the cake here. I think it's looking pretty good for Prnef, but if he commits to a fight that Necromancer's tier 1 overwhelms him on, he might still have a chance. I don't know, man. It's looking pretty good for Prnef, in my opinion. If he's able to fight, gets the owl, and it's going to be rough. And that's going to be it. Prnef able to take out Necromantizer with a really unique playstyle. Alright, what was that? Let's hop into game number 12 here. We got Xeno versus What is a Phone? Alright, spawning in the 9 o'clock position, we've got Xeno Acoop, well-known player, and in the 3 o'clock, his opponent, What is a Phone? If you're new to the scene, Xeno is a guy who's been around for a couple of years during the alpha. Andy Schatz, the game developer, lead balance guy, often would reach out to Xeno as kind of the voice of the community, you know, and get the community's 2 cents on balance changes and stuff. So really cool to see. I think that's a solid approach to take when it comes to balancing games. But Xeno coming in with some innovative stuff as he normally does. You know, Xeno's a little well known to be a macro player. He doesn't always just play straight by the book in the metagame, and tries to change it up and try different things out. So he's probably trying to see how well barbed wire and mines do. You know, as a guy who's a little bit involved in the balance of the games, you know, is probably seeing, okay, you know, because objectively, I think barbed wire and mines are probably a couple of the weakest units in the game. I mean, mines, I feel like if foxes get more popular, mines can as well, because 2 mines will knock out a fox, man. And it can be pretty easy to predict the attack path that foxes will go down. But Xeno punishing his opponent for being a little bit greedy, and you know, chips out a little bit of damage here, manages to take out a farm. So, you know, just for a couple lizards. So good trade for Xeno. I'll take that any day of the week, and we'll see where the game goes from there. Okay, so not a ton going on yet. I mean, both these guys going up to, you know, the typical start, the 8 farms, you know, a few tier 1 Warrens, and the big decision is going to be if somebody decides to take an expansion, if somebody goes up to a quick tier 2 or a tier 3, and I think Xeno's strategy with this deck is use the barbed wire and mines to kind of create a nice zone, split the map effectively, you know, get out a quick fox if possible to harass in the mid game, and then have the owl for the late game. Those mines kind of got busted by What Is a Phone, so if I was Xeno, I'd sell those and put those mines somewhere else, now that What Is a Phone is aware of them. And What Is a Phone did take this campfire up top, and you know, if Xeno scouts that out, it'll be really easy for him to use his lizards to come up there. But man, this is why it's so hard for me to not take lizards too, because doing little moves like this just feels so great as an RTS player. Now, What Is a Phone's in a decent spot. Ooh, I like that. Those mines are designed to punish What Is a Phone if he chases too hard. Xeno's gonna come in, get a couple of farms. Maybe that last, yeah, I do that all the time, man. A little greedy on trying to get that 3rd pig. He did get those 2 pigs though, and that's still a fantastic trade for just 6 lizards, right? So overall, still good. Xeno could have taken those 2 farms and retreated, and a couple lizards would have lived, but so what? It's not a big deal. And yeah, interesting. So Xeno decides to rush for the owl first. I think it would have made more sense to go for the fox, but I'd like to see what Xeno's thinking with that. Maybe he's just trying to get up to that critical. I kind of think like 3 owls, you know, is kind of like code red. Like 1 owl is kind of like, if you're playing against owls, you see an owl, you know, that's your trigger where you're just like, crap, man, I gotta do something. I can't let him get up to like 3 owls. 2 owls might be enough. Maybe 2 owls is all you need, but once you get up to 3, man, you're just getting so many free units. Anything above 3 is just ridiculous. So What Is a Phone is going to get the boar out, and he is going to get the scout on the tier 3 from his opponent. Interesting to see how the boar is going to fare against the owl. You know, it might do better than you think. It's going to be able to roast down those mice pretty effectively. It's going to be able to tank damage against those mice. So it could even him out for it. And he's got the falcons too, which are typically pretty good against owls in my opinion. So we'll see where this game progresses. Both players still on 1 base, gonna do a little bit of ×2 while the game gets going here. And now the fox is getting started, so the owl is out. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Like, Xeno could have a fox right now, right, instead of the owl, which he could be actively using to harass his opponent. But instead goes for the owl first. Gets that campfire, no big deal. And if Xeno can, like, take this gristmill, yeah, this one's a little safer, but, you know, start trying to zone, trying to contain What's the Phone. What's the Phone is on the low ground with high ground all around it, so if Xeno can take this high ground, he's basically going to lock What Is the Phone in. Yeah, What Is the Phone is aware of this and knows he can't be locked in, but he's also got the boar now, so his army's pretty strong. And let's see if he's going to be able to, let's see how good this boar does against these mice. So yeah, it looked like it did fairly well. Only a couple squirrels dying there for What's-A-Phone. And now that Owl's not going to be super useful, these mine hits might be a thing. They aren't too bad. And this boar might be able to lead What's-A-Phone to victory here, as the army of Xeno is just getting roasted. And if that owl dies, yeah, that is a rough spot, man. That's where you consider just kind of tapping out. You know, when you went for a fast tier 3 and it dies, it's always the worst feeling in the world. But What's-A-Foe's gonna push the tempo, man. He knows he took that fight really well, and he's gonna get Xeno back into a corner. And at this point, it is just too much damage. Xeno is gonna stay alive for now because he does have that other Gristmill, but he's gonna get totally wiped out. His Fox manages to stay alive, but it's got nowhere to go. It's gonna get cornered, and it will eventually drop. Oh, and maybe sneak it out. No, it goes down. And that's Xeno's trigger to tap out of the game. Great play out of What's-A-Phone there. Able to take a game off a well-known, experienced, high-level player like Xeno. Alright guys, we are running over, but I will get to this last game here. Game number 13, let's do it. Valeris versus Jack XYZ. Okay, spawning in the 3 o'clock, we've got Valeris. And his opponent in the 11 o'clock, Jack XYZ. I'll just call him Jack for short. And Valeris does have the moles, but he queued up his 5th farm. He could go back. Well, we'll gotta see if he wants to go back and cancel that 5th farm, go for a mole rush, decides not to. But I wonder how long it's gonna be until he notices this campfire from Jack XY here. If Jack takes that campfire successfully, he's gonna be able to turret rush, which could be effective for him. We'll have to see. So far, Jack floating a little bit of money. I wonder if he's gonna throw down some Warrens. That looks like what he's probably hoping to do. He might go all in on this forward campfire here. Build a couple turrets, maybe even build a Warren up here. So we'll have to see how that pans out for him. But I'm feeling good for Valeris at this point. Like, yeah, that's kind of a pain in the ass, for sure. But, you know, Valeris has a better economy. If Valeris doesn't overreact here, just kind of hangs out, you know, yeah, takes the rest of his farms and then figures out a way to break out of this, he should be in good shape because Jack is still only on 4 farms. Now, granted, he's got the campfire and he's got another one on the way, so that's going to make up for it a little bit. But nice contain here, although the contain doesn't do a whole lot. I mean, this look at this map on the mini-map. It's actually really interesting, right? Because it's split very obviously, you know, 4 bases for both players. Kind of 1 campfire each, but Jack, you know, jumped the gun on the campfires, claims them both for themselves. And if you look, there's actually this little walkway where he could come around, man. If Valeris ends up using that to avoid all this defense and win the game, man, that would be really cool to see. Are these players aware of that? So far, not really. Jack is aware of it now, for the most part. Good, you know, I actually don't mind this response from Valeris at all. You know, he's saying, okay, man, you spent so much money in the early game here on getting that campfire, on putting out all that defense, so I'm just gonna, you know, get out a quick owl. Like, what are you gonna be able to do about it? And that owl is gonna be able to slowly knock down that contain from his opponent. But again, man, this contain isn't really a big deal because it doesn't stop Valeris from taking extra bases. You know, if this contain did stop Valeris from getting a second base, it would be huge. But the fact that Valeris has all these bases over here, just in this nice, huge pocket that he owns, is very big. And look at this, nice little mole attack coming out of Valeris, trying to get some harassment done while he's kind of kicking back, waiting on that owl to finish. Jack does see it, but he doesn't really have an answer for it. And these 2 moles do crit buildings. We'll have to see if they're able to get the Gristmill before the squirrels are able to take him out. I think they will be able to do it. Valeris isn't going to be able to save the moles. That's not a cost-effective trade, but it was still a favorable trade. He really denied the second base timing of his opponent. Oh, this 3rd mole over here, that's a little unfortunate. So 180 food Valeris just spent to take out a Gristmill. But again, you know, it did slow down the economy of Jack a little bit, but Jack's economy is being supplemented by now these 3 campfires. So the real story here, though, is this owl coming out for Valeris. Once that is out, even just one owl, you know, build up all your mice, throw them into the barbed wire and turrets, and eventually they're gonna break out. And also, you know, Valerius just keep on adding owls. We've seen a lot of owl play tonight, to be honest. It's good tier 3, man, for sure. And Jack just do the straight 8 farm saturation on his second base. That should make Valerius really happy. That should tell Valerius, you know, Jack can't have much of an army to do a whole lot about his owl. And it should also allow Valerius to be greedy himself, if he chooses to. Trying to do another mole attack over here, but Jack isn't going to fall for the same thing twice, and Valerius gets busted. But he does force out more turrets out of Jack, which is really what Jack doesn't need, man. Jack really needs to start getting an army together. And Valerius, man, these mice are built up now. So I'd like to see him begin this harassment. He goes up to full second base economy, gets his third up, gets his second owl going. And so far, this looks like a good formula for Valerius to win here. These mice are just going to, over time, start getting free damage. You know, that is a lot of defense, but those mice will be able to deal damage to it. It's not so many turrets and barbed wire where the mice really aren't doing a whole lot, so... Valerius just being very greedy here, man, and I don't blame him. You know, Jack has invested a lot into economy, a lot into defense, and just now, Jack is starting to get his own army up, which is going to be very, very scary when it does happen, when it does hit the field. You know, Jack's got the wolf, he's got the falcons, which is going to make a good composition for sure. But the real story here is owl number 2 is gonna be out for Valerius here in just a second. And man, if he can get owl number 3 going, there it is. That is just gonna be an insane amount of free units for Valerius here. And I'd like to see him using these mice a little more actively. He should be running these mice into the defense of his opponent and just getting free damage done. Man, just going crazy on economy here. Alright, owl number 3. Waiting to start. It's gonna start here in a second. Yeah, now these mice get used up. And then, see, that's what I mean, man. Like, 2 mice just run over. And these are all free units that the owl spawns. So not crippling damage, but it is damage nonetheless. And Jack is gonna move in. That is a good opportunity to move in against an owl player right after they use their mice to harass. You know, and Jack's gonna take a favorable trade here. But Valerius still has his owls, which is what's important. If Valerius can just buy time, keep these owls alive. Unfortunately, one dies, though. That might give Jack enough momentum to keep this attack going. That wolf buff is really paying off here. Getting a lot of work done, man. And fantastic attack out of Jack, man. He's got to be careful not to overextend at this point, though. Look at these falcons. The falcon runaround attack. By moving his commander over, but he's neglecting his wolf on the front line, and it is going to go down. That's going to be a big loss for Jack. But if Jack is able to get in here and kill this gristmill, that would be huge, but these falcons got to live too. He can't afford to lose these falcons. That is a lot of money, and they are going to go down. So Valerius isn't in terrible shape. He's still got 2 owls. He's got a third one coming. Now, Jack's got the better economy, but man, just so many squirrels coming out of Jack now. We'll have to see if it's enough, or if Valerius can muster up enough in time to stay alive and hold this off. Here we go, mice coming in. Mice do very well against Tier 1. They're much stronger pound for pound, and these squirrels are going to slowly but surely get cleaned up. A few of them remain, but I'm worried Jack is overextending now. This second wave out of Valerius should be enough to stop this onslaught. And you gotta be careful, man. You don't want your army to kind of just trickle in one by one, you know. Never good to be lemmings here. This is a cool game, man. It wasn't as straightforward as I thought it would be. I figured Valerius would just get the owls up and win. But, you know, Jack made a really good effort there. And it was a really cool attack idea to come in with his falcons, but it wasn't micro quite right. You know, if Jack was able to do that attack but keep his wolf alive and then get back out with his falcons, he would be in a phenomenal position this game. But, you know, taking out that gristmill is a big deal, but he lost like 8 falcons and his wolf for it. So Valerius is sitting pretty right now. I mean, this is what I'm talking about, man. When you get up to 3 owls, you're just getting so many mice. And here we go. Jack is trying the trick again, but Valeris knows better this time around. Valeris doesn't have that many Falcons, though. If Jack can kill those Falcons, now his Falcons might be a little dumb and target the wrong units. Yeah, these 2 Falcons getting so much work done for Valeris. One of them died, but basically 2 Falcons killed like 10 there. I guess Valeris did have a couple squirrels backing him up too. But the main attack coming out from Jack here. You know, Jack putting in really good effort this game, man. Lots of flanks, lots of unexpected attacks, interesting strategy, trying to take that campfire early, build up some defense, and then do something. But as you can see, man, 3 owls worth the mice is just a lot. It's quite a few. So all those free units for Valeris should allow him over time, as these engagements keep going, to just get so much value. And here we go. The zombie mice coming in. Just getting work done. I mean, those are all free units for Valeris, so he doesn't care, man. He's just sacking them and getting damage on here. It looks like Jack is going to try it one more time to attack, trying to muster up some Falcons. But, oh no, he's out of position. Oh, that would hurt. That would feel so bad if those Falcons died while he was out of position. Yeah, it looks like that's going to be the case, man. Valeris is trying to take another expansion, and his army just gets rolled over by Valeris. And I don't know how much longer Jack can keep up taking this punishment. It looks like from here, Valeris should have plenty of momentum to knock his opponent out. Just wrecking nerds with these mice. And that's going to be it. Jack is being a little stubborn about leaving the game, but should leave soon. And he taps out. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. That is going to wrap up the show tonight. We made it through 13 replays. We did 2.5 hours. I'm getting some messages on Discord by a fellow named Box. He was asking about wanting to host a tournament on Monday. So keep an eye out for that, guys. Definitely encourage him and sign up and make it a good event. You know, Josh has been talking a lot about doing something as well. So that is coming up. I'm not exactly sure what the date is on Josh's tournament, but it should be late January, I believe. And that is going to be it, man. I might do a little rank stream over the weekend, but I will see you guys next Tuesday. Yeah, I'm sorry I couldn't get to everybody that normally submits. Again, I was just trying to focus on maybe some players we haven't quite seen yet, but I'll definitely get my regular submitters on the show on Tuesday night. So thank you so much, everybody. I don't really have anything else to plug. Definitely check out my YouTube channel. If this is your first time checking out Tooth and Tail, man, look at underneath my profile. I've got a lot of info there. Most of the custom skins I use are accessible there. Information to the Pocketwatch Discord. Pocketwatch is a game developer, so definitely come in there, man. We're really active and love to have you part of our family. So that's it, guys. I will see you all next Tuesday. Take care, everybody. Let me find somebody to give that host-a-roni over to. Take care, everybody.